Hello, hello, hello. Hopefully, you guys can hear me. Hopefully, I have good audio. Let's check and see. Yep, my bubble's moving. Thank you for all being here. Thank you, Farky, for coming in. Good to see you in the chat, sis. So, as promised, this is Barely Alive 2024, episode 2. We're going to recap, replay, and watch the murder trial of Harmony Montgomery. Her biological father, Adam Montgomery, is on trial for her murder. So I appreciate everybody for being here. There's a trigger warning on screen. Make sure that you do take care of yourself. Mental health is important. If you feel that this case is too graphic, please, I don't expect you to stay. I appreciate anyone that can come in and hang out and be here, but I totally understand if it's something that you personally can't deal with. So I'm going to go ahead and start the Court TV feed, and big shout out to Court TV for being there and filming live. As you guys know, if you were here last night, Crime Curious is boots on the ground in New Hampshire in the courtroom. So here's her channel. If you're not subbed up to her, make sure you give Crime Curious a sub. She is an amazing creator, an amazing person, beautiful human, and I'm honored to know her as a friend and be able to honestly support her. She will be live at 8 o'clock tonight to do a recap from Boots on the Ground. Hello, Carrie. Thank you for coming in. Hi, Dandy. There's Far Q. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to speed this up a little bit so we can get into the trial. I know a lot of you guys are in Frankie's earlier, and if you're not subbed up to Frankie, make sure you go sub up to Miss Frankie. She's amazing. She does daytime online lives online, and she also covers a lot of cases and covers a lot of trials and does some amazing, great work with the community. Beautiful human, another good friend. I'm honored to say I honestly have some of the best people in the community. So we're gonna bump that up just a little bit more. Hopefully the audio is okay, guys. Should be all the way up. And I will mute out so that way we can hear.
Attorney Smith, you can see that. Attorney Brooks, you can see that from where you are.
I'm gonna go up on there. Somewhat, I may actually ease over
That-
here.
That's fine.
Okay.
I can't see it, so if there's an issue, you need to draw it to the court's attention.
Your Honor, if you wish, that's why we did bring the second monitor. Very quick plug in so that you'll be able to see.
That would be fine. Yes, thank you.
I will say from what I've heard, guys, today that the opening statements are heart-wrenching. So make sure you do use self-care and understand that this is an extremely graphic case, and you're probably going to hear some details that make you question humanity, or at least the monsters that live in the world we do. I have not heard or seen. Does anyone know if Uncle Kevin? I hope not. You heard that today? He did that today? Because let me tell you, okay, so let me make sure I'm not muted. So there's a story about one time when Adam had, I think it was when he shot the guy, to be honest. I'd have to look at my notes, guys. I'm not with my notes. I literally just got off work. But there was a guy that jumped off a bridge, and it may have been Kevin. There's a lot to this case, and I don't have my notebook right in front of me, so I apologize for not having that on hand. But if you can message me, FarQ, where you heard that. Because if this was something that happened in the past, then yeah, he's alive because he was on stand today. If you're talking about what happened way back when, then yeah, he did jump off a bridge. I believe I'm almost positive it was him. I'd have to pull out my notebook. There is a story about somebody jumping off a bridge, and I believe it was him when he was up here because he.
Attorney Gotti, if it's not easy, just shut it down. It's fine. We'll deal with it on the break and as we go. That's okay.
He is here from here in
If we're ready,
Florida.
I would like to bring in the jurors. Attorney Knowles?
Ready. Thank you.
Okay. All rise for the jurors, please.
Like I said, there's a story from way back when, FarQ.
All rise for the jury.
But I've been at work all day, so I haven't heard. I mean, now I'd like to know if he jumped off a bridge again today. And what you're going to hear in this trial is how, Adam is a very violent,
You may be
scary
seated.
person,
Good morning,
allegedly, in
ladies
my
and
opinion.
gentlemen. As I said to you yesterday, we hoped and planned that we would begin with opening statements this morning, and that's exactly where we are. So when the state is ready.
Thank you.
Okay, so it looks like he's going to take a few seconds here to get prepared, and then we're going to get in with the state's opening statements. As I said, perform self-care because this is supposed to be heart-wrenching, guys.
Where is Harmony Montgomery? Where is Harmony? When people across this nation, from Florida all the way up to Alaska and everywhere in between, were looking for Harmony, there's one person who is not. One person. The one person who should have been looking for Harmony was not. Her biological father, that defendant that you saw 2 days ago, he wasn't looking for her. And in fact, he was hoping that she wouldn't be found. His concern was not with finding this innocent 5-year-old girl. His concern was that she would be found and that his heinous and depraved actions would be brought to light. That's because he was the only person in this world who knows where Harmony is, who knows where her body is, and he was hoping that she would never be found. The one person, the one and only person who murdered Harmony, who butchered her body, and who disposed of her like yesterday's trash. This case is about Harmony Montgomery. I don't want that to get lost as we progress throughout this lengthy trial. This case is about Harmony Montgomery, but it's also about the defendant, his actions, his rage, his brutality, and his escalation in violence. The murder of Harmony Montgomery, that was just the beginning of the depraved actions of this defendant and what this case is all about. It's about a man crimes. Had no appreciation or concern about Harmony being missing because he already knew she was dead. For 2 years before Chester Police Department initiated their search for Harmony Montgomery, that man got away with murder. His only concern, other than Harmony's body being found, was to keep his wife, Kayla Montgomery, from coming in here and telling you all to cover up. He got away with murdering a 5-year-old, and that defendant made sure that Harmony
So sorry about that. Apparently, I got booted out of my own screen. I apologize, guys. And I will back this up just a little bit, guys. I do apologize. I am so sorry about that. I just looked up and everything started flashing and boop, kicked myself out of my own stream. Hello, Truth and Justice. Thank you for coming in. He was not in court per se. He was somewhere else watching by Zoom. He waived his rights to not be in court today. Yeah. Yeah, he waived his rights yesterday too. And you're fine, FarQ. No worry for the confusion. I'm digging through my notes on my notepad. That might be what caused my StreamYard to freak out, because we all know that StreamYard's, picky. Okay, I'm going to start the stream back up. Or the trial. Get this back up.
Attorney Agati, if it's not easy, just shut it down. It's fine. We'll deal with it on the break and as we go. That's okay. If we're ready, I'd like to bring in jurors. Attorney Knowles? Okay. All rise for the jurors, please.
All rise for the jury.
You may be seated. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As I said to you yesterday, we hoped and planned that we would begin with opening statements this morning, and that's exactly where we are. So when the state is ready.
Thank you. Where is Harmony Montgomery? Where is Harmony? When people across this nation, from Florida all the way up to Alaska, and everywhere in between. We're looking for Harmony. There's one person who is not. One person. The one person who should have been looking for Harmony was not. Her biological father, that defendant that you saw 2 days ago, he wasn't looking for her, and in fact, he was hoping that she wouldn't be found. His concern was not with finding this innocent 5-year-old girl. His concern was that she would be found, and that his heinous and depraved actions would be brought to light. That's because he was the only person in this world who knows where Harmony is, who knows where her body is, and he was hoping that she would never be found. The one person, the one and only person who murdered Harmony, who butchered her body, and who disposed of her like yesterday's trash. This case is about Harmony Montgomery. I don't want that to get lost as we progress throughout this lengthy trial. This case is about Harmony Montgomery, but it's also about the defendant, his actions, his rage, his brutality, and his escalation in violence. The murder of Harmony Montgomery, that was just the beginning of the depraved actions of this defendant and what this case is all about. It's about a man who, for 2 years, evaded apprehension, didn't have to answer for his crimes, had no appreciation or concern about Harmony being missing because he already knew she was dead. For 2 years before the Manchester Police Department initiated their search for Harmony Montgomery, that man got away with murder. His only concern, other than Harmony's body being found, was to keep his wife, Kayla Montgomery, from being here and telling you all what he did to her. His heinous actions, his cover-up, what she witnessed. For 2 years, he got away with butchering a 5-year-old girl. And that defendant made sure that Harmony would never be found, that she'd be gone without a trace. You'll see, he believed that if there was no body, there could be no evidence of the horrible things that he did to her, and he would get away with it. And so he went to great lengths to cover up his crime, to cover up beating Harmony to death for a bathroom accident. He went to great lengths to cover up his conduct. Beating Harmony to death because she soiled herself. And he thought that if he destroyed the evidence, what remained of Harmony, if he destroyed Harmony, he could never be charged. He was careless in this meticulous cover-up. He made mistakes. We're going to hear about those mistakes because it's evidence of his crimes. It's evidence of what he did. So let's talk about the evidence in this case. On December 7th, 2019, the defendant beat Harmony to death because she had a bathroom accident, something she had no control over. She'd peed her pants, and he murdered her in a series of attacks, of brutal strikes that began that morning in the car that she was living out of and ended in the Burger King parking lot that you all saw yesterday on The View. He carried her body with him for months. For months, he carried her body. And he discarded her with zero appreciation for the life that he'd taken, just a fear of being caught. And in the months that followed, he beat, he injured, he terrorized the only witness to his crime, the only person that could come in here and tell you what he did. She was his loose end, Kayla Montgomery, his wife. He conditioned Kayla through force and through threats with the purpose of making sure that she would never come in here and tell you what she'd seen, what he did. Beating Harmony to death for another accident, destroying her body, freezing her, thawing her, squeezing the liquid out of her, compressing her body into a bag like this one. Compressing her body into a bag like this one and filling it with lime to further decompose her. Unspeakable things. And this is what he did to the only witness he left alive. She was beaten, she was conditioned, and she was living in fear. She was in a nightmare with no end while he dragged around Harmony's body for months. And I want to pause here for just a moment. I want to thank all of you for being here. This is going to be a lengthy trial. You're going to hear many difficult things. That's
Kayla. For you guys that aren't familiar with Harmony's case, on the screen, swelled up and beat the hell out of is Harmony's stepmom.
Not lost on us. It's not lost on the attorneys that are in this case. So thank you for taking the time out of your lives to come here and listen to the evidence, to judge the evidence. It's necessary. It's a necessary function. And if you listen to the evidence, if you keep an open mind, and if you follow Judge Messer's instructions, you'll understand the timeline of Harmony's death, of the cover-up. You'll understand the horrible things that that defendant did, why he assaulted, why he murdered, why he terrorized. And after he was done with all of this, why he destroyed evidence, why he lied, why he blocked his friends and family, why he manipulated his wife into doing terrible things to hide his crime, to hide the victim that he'd murdered. So let's talk about the victim that he murdered, the victim that he made sure couldn't come into this courtroom and tell you the horrible things that he did to her. Her name is Harmony Montgomery. And there are 4 descriptions that you're going to hear of Harmony during the course of this trial, some of them horrible. Harmony was born to the defendant, Adam Montgomery, and her mother, Crystal Sorey. She was born on June 7th of 2014. She was a daughter. She was a sister. She was a Minnie Mouse fan. She was a fun-loving girl that loved being a big sister. She was just 5 years old when the defendant brutally murdered her. During the course of her brief life, she was a fun-loving girl. She was someone that defied all odds. She spent most of her life with Tim and Michelle Rafferty, her foster parents, who she called Daddy and Mommy Michelle. And those odds that she defied. When Michelle Rafferty, when Tim and Michelle got Harmony, when they got custody of her, she was just 2 months old. Michelle was told she's not going to live past 7 months, told that she had learning disabilities. And still you'll hear that Harmony was an intelligent girl. She was a curious child. She was a child that ran with other children, played with them.
Haley, I totally agree. And you also have to keep in mind that Kayla, I don't support domestic DV either by any means of it. But you also have to keep in mind that this woman kept Harmony on her food stamps, knowing that she had helped Adam conceal, dismember, and transport Harmony's body.
She was potty trained at a very early age. At a very early age, she was potty trained, and that'll become important as we progress throughout this trial. So keep that in mind. Harmony was potty trained at a very early age. She wasn't someone that was bound by limitations. And you'll hear that when she lived with her mommy, Michelle, and her mommy, Crystal, she was thriving. She was thriving in school. She was thriving with her peers. She was a child like any other. She was full of life. But that's just one description of Harmony, and I told you there are more. The defendant got custody of Harmony in February of 2019. At that time, she was only 4 years old. The second description is darker. It comes from the 10 days before the defendant murdered her, and we'll talk about that more as we go along. The 10 days before he murdered her. In the second description, not the one where Harmony's thriving. In this one, she's scared. She's skinny. She's constantly exhausted, and she's bruised. At this point in Harmony's brief life, she's not able to control her bladder. She's not able to control her bowel movements. She's soiling herself. And during this period, the time when the defendant had her, those 10 days, she went from living in their home on Guilford Street at 77 Guilford Street to being homeless and living in a car, in the family's car. And when they were living in that car, those bathroom accidents got worse and worse, and they came more and more often. And you'll hear about the defendant's rage, this rage of the defendants that was building and building with each and every accident. And each time Harmony had an accident in that 10-day period, the defendant would strike her. That rage only growing, adding to that fear. And the next two descriptions come from the actions that the defendant took after he had murdered Harmony, after he beat her to death. You'll hear that she went from this little girl full of life, a girl that radiated happiness, that radiated joy, to a scared girl, broken, bruised. And from there, she went to the dead girl in the duffel bag. And after that, she went to the dead girl rotting in the ceiling that the defendant slept under for months. For months, as Harmony's body fluid, her blood, leaked through that duffel bag and was absorbed into that ceiling, he slept under her. That's what he did to her. That's what he made Harmony. His actions. Remember that as we go along. This case is about his actions. And those are the descriptions of Harmony. That's what the defendant made her before he disposed of her. Harmony was just 5 years old when the defendant beat her to death, but her story continues long after her death with the gruesome actions that the defendant took, the things that he did to her, the places that he took her. 3 people witnessed Harmony's death, her murder, and they survived. Her 2 younger brothers, one just 5 months old, the other 2 years old, and her stepmother, Kayla Montgomery. Back then, Kayla was the defendant's wife. She was mother of his 2 small children, his 2 boys. They met when they were kids and they married in 2017. And eventually they moved to Manchester, New Hampshire, and they lived at the home on 77 Guilford Street. The defendant stayed home with the children and Kayla worked. She was a cashier at Dunkin' Donuts. And during the 6 months leading up to Harmony's murder, their marriage was on the rocks. But Kayla tried to make it work. She wanted to make it work for her family. She wanted to make it work so that she didn't lose another person that she loved. But this case, it's not about Kayla. It's not about what Kayla did. It's not about what Kayla didn't do. Remember that as we go along. It's about what the defendant did. Kayla was the defendant's loose end. She was the witness to his crimes. She was the witness to his confession to an assault that took place against Harmony by the defendant in July of 2019. She was witness to Harmony's murder. She was witness to the defendant compressing Harmony into bag, smaller bag, compressing her more and more over the months that he had her, adding lime to that bag. And she was witness to the defendant disposing of Harmony. She was the witness that was left alive. So let's talk about that first event, the assault on Harmony from July of 2019. That summer, the summer of 2019, was Harmony's first time living with the defendant. It was her first summer with the defendant. And again, they lived at this home on Guilford Street. You'll hear that they lived there with Helen Montgomery, the defendant's grandmother, and the defendant's uncle, Kevin. And Helen and Kevin left that summer. They went down to Florida, and there Helen had.
And Carrie says earlier today she heard 3 different witnesses with 3 different statements as to why Adam why she had a black eye. Having no doubt. Accessory, in my opinion. Absolutely. I agree.
Had a triple bypass surgery, and Kevin stayed with her. He accompanied her to help her in her recovery. And you'll hear that Kevin was gone for 3 weeks. And when Kevin left, when he left that home, Harmony was uninjured. No bruises. Uninjured. But when he came back, Harmony had a large black eye. Black eye such that was so swollen that the profile of her face had changed. It was horrible. This girl was bruised. She was injured. And her face was swollen. And when Kevin walked through that door, he saw Harmony. And this immediately stood out to him. This was his niece, his great niece. And the defendant was standing next to Harmony, and he said, "Harmony, what did you do? What happened to you?" And Harmony didn't even have time to answer. The defendant interrupted and said, "She didn't do nothing. I bashed her around this house. I beat the dog shit out of her." That's what he told his uncle about Harmony, what happened to her, how she got that injury. "I beat her. I did that." The defendant in this case. You'll hear that this shocked Kevin. It frightened him. And that was the last night he stayed in the house. He never went back there. He spent that night in his house and he got out of there. And in the time that followed, he did everything he could to get Harmony help. He contacted authorities. He contacted DCYF, contacted Child Services. You'll hear that he was unsuccessful. This assault from July of 2019, that's separate and apart from the murder charges, different incident. So I want to talk about the murder now. To do that, again, we have to talk about the 10-day period before the defendant brutally murdered Harmony. Those 10 days where Harmony had major life changes. You'll hear that the family went from living in that home on Guilford Street to being evicted and living in their silver Chrysler Sebring. And while they were living in the Sebring, while they were living in the Sebring, they parked in that parking lot we saw yesterday at Colonial Village, the apartments. They stayed there in their car. Harmony at this point had another major life change. She started having accidents. She started peeing herself. She was incontinent. She couldn't control when she had to go to the bathroom. She was peeing herself and she was pooping herself. This girl that prided herself on being able to control her body, basic functions. She was a big girl, but she started having these issues with her bladder, with her bowel movements. And you'll hear that when they moved into that vehicle, when they started living there, those accidents got worse and they came more often. She wasn't letting the defendant know when she had to go, and she was creating a mess each time. And that rage, the defendant's rage that you'll hear about in this case, grew and grew. And he would hit her, he would strike her each time she had one of those accidents. And that was Harmony's life. For 10 days. For 10 days, she lived in a car. For 10 days, she had bathroom accidents. For 10 days, she was unable to control her own body. For 10 days, she was in fear. She was scared because each time she had one of these accidents, the defendant would hit her. The defendant that you saw 2 days ago, a large man, he would hit this. She was 35 pounds in June of 2019. This again is in December. She was tiny. He would hit her. He would strike her with a fist over something she had no control over. And those accidents were getting worse and they were coming more often. And she was so bruised before her murder that the defendant had to hide her when he went out in public. He would literally take a blanket and cover her up so that she couldn't be seen, and that so no one would know what he had done to her. No one would see those bruises. And that brings us to December 7th of 2019. That day began like any other day for Harmony. They were living in that car. She woke up and she was scared. She was scared because she'd wet herself. She didn't want the defendant to know. She'd wet herself first thing that morning and she was afraid. And just as she feared what happened, the defendant smelled what she had done. And for that, he hit her. He struck her in the face and he drove his car. He continued on with his day as if he had done nothing. He struck this little girl in her face on the side of her head. And he continued on as if nothing happened. He drove to the methadone clinic, the clinic that you saw yesterday on The View. And there he and Kayla took turns getting their treatment. You'll hear that Kayla went in first. The defendant stayed in the car. And then the defendant went in. And when the defendant came back to the car, he was hungry. And so he started driving the family's car to the Burger King that you saw yesterday on The View. And as he was pulling out of that parking lot, he smelled something. He smelled that Harmony had had another accident. And that rage that had been building inside of him, it was there. Remember, he was still upset about the earlier accident, that first thing in the morning. And he looked back at Harmony as he was driving, and he said, "Really, Harmony? Again?" And he began striking her. As he was driving, holding onto the wheel, he began punching this little girl repeatedly for something she had no control over. He struck her blow after blow after blow to the side of her small head. And he didn't stop. And you'll hear me say that. He didn't stop. He didn't stop with that first barrage of assaults, of strikes to her small head. He continued hitting her, hit after hit to her small head, blow after blow. Now, during this barrage of strikes, Kayla, who was in the passenger seat, seated next to the defendant, seated in front of Harmony, she put a hand up. She tried to block what this defendant was doing to Harmony. She tried to stop him. You'll hear that in that moment, he looked at her as if to say, "You're next." And she was scared. And she looked forward and she put her hand down, and those strikes to Harmony continued. And when he pulled up to another light as he was driving to that Burger King parking lot, he continued striking her. And after that last strike, he looked at Kayla and he said, "I think I really hurt her this time. I think I really hurt her this time. I think I did something. And he didn't stop. He continued with his drive. Pulled into that parking lot at Burger King, and he ordered his food. He ordered his food, and he ate. He didn't stop to check on Harmony. He didn't look back at her. He didn't show any concern for this innocent little girl, the child he'd just beaten. He ordered his food, and he ate. And he didn't stop. You'll hear that at that time, after that last blow, after that last strike to her small head, she began moaning and making a gurgling sound. Sounds that continued on and off for several minutes. He didn't show any concern, ate his food, and he continued driving towards the Colonial apartment parking lot. And while he was there, he did drugs for 20 to 25 minutes, showing no concern for the child that was dying in his backseat, just feet away from him. And Kayla, you'll hear, was too scared to look back. She couldn't look back. She was frozen. She was terrified to see what he had done to this small child. She could just hear that moaning, those gargling sounds, sounds that eventually stopped. After the defendant ordered his food and he was driving back, he did his drugs. Listening to those noises, not showing any concern, he pulled into the Colonial Village parking lot and he did drugs for 20 to 25 minutes. He ate his food and he did his drugs, and Harmony slowly died. And when he was done with that, still showing no concern for Harmony, he pulled out of the parking lot where they'd been living. And when he made it to the intersection of Webster and Elm, which you saw in the view yesterday, his car died. It died just as Harmony had died several minutes before. The defendant realized they were going to have to abandon that vehicle. And so he started removing items, getting the kids out, shaking Harmony, telling her to wake up. She wasn't responding. She couldn't. She was dead. He had done that. And when he realized that Harmony was no longer alive, that he'd murdered her, he grabbed a duffel bag. Remember, they were living in that car. All of their items, all of their possessions were in that car. He grabbed the duffel bag and he stuffed Harmony's body inside. And remember those descriptions that I told you about Harmony, what you'd hear throughout this trial. That's when Harmony became the dead girl in the duffel bag. He did that to her. That's what he made her. The defendant stuffed her into that bag and he went on about his day as if nothing happened. But Harmony's murder, that was only the beginning. And remember what I told you, this case, it's about the actions of the defendant. They didn't stop after he murdered Harmony. That was the beginning of his conduct. His actions didn't end when he brutally murdered Harmony. You'll hear about how he carried her for months, scheming, plotting, coming up with a plan of how to get rid of Harmony somewhere she would never be found. And they went back to the Colonial Village parking lot that afternoon. They had a friend there, a friend who let them stay in his Audi. And you'll hear that friend brought them dinner for 2 nights, the 2 nights they stayed there, December 7th and 8th. He brought them dinner, and notably, he didn't see Harmony with them. He didn't see Harmony because she was in that duffel bag, the duffel bag that he was moving between the trunk of that Audi SUV and the ground outside. At night, he would keep her in the ground between his car, the Audi SUV, and the dumpsters that you saw yesterday that you walked around. And he wanted to keep her body cold. From the Colonial Village parking lot, they went to Kayla's mother's home, and they stayed there for the rest of the month. She picked them up in her van, and that's where Harmony stayed for several days while the defendant looked for somewhere more suitable to keep her. And he found something more suitable. In the entryway of Christina Lubin, Kayla's mother's home, he found this blue cooler. And he stored her there for much of the remainder of his stay. And they left that home on December 30th, and they went to the Families in Transition shelter. It was at the Families in Transition shelter that the defendant began to discuss disposing of Harmony, getting rid of her. He believed, you'll hear, he believed that if there was no body to find, there would be no evidence of what he'd done, and he would get away with this heinous crime. And so he began to discuss disposing of her. While he was there, he moved Harmony from the closet of that room. He moved her to the ceiling. He removed that vent cover and he stuffed her body inside. And that's when Harmony became the dead girl rotting in the ceiling that he slept under for months.
When a personal injury accident happens, it can feel like your whole life is falling apart. Here's what you need to know.
Sorry for the ad.
Now, the defendant faced another problem at the fit shelter. Harmony's body began to rot. It began to smell. He was storing her body in the ceiling above his room, and the heat was on. And the heat was causing her body to decompose more and more by the day, to rot more and more by the day. And it was smelling. And other tenants, other people that lived there were complaining about those smells. So he had to take her body out of that ceiling. And he brought it to the bathroom and he compressed it. He compressed and contorted her body into this bag, into a bag like this. And he put it back up there, back in the ceiling. And when he was taking her body down, when it was still in the duffel bag, before he'd added trash bags and put her inside a bag like this one, she was leaking. She was leaking. Her liquids were pouring through that duffel bag. And investigators followed up with the fit shelter. They went to that room. They looked in the ceiling. And when they took that vent cover off, they immediately smelled decomposition, a smell associated with dead bodies, rotting bodies. They smelled decomp. Still present 2 years after the defendant had removed Harmony's body from the ceiling. And they saw deep stains in the drywall where Harmony's blood had been absorbed. That blood was tested. It was sent to a lab in Florida and tested. And that lab in Florida confirmed that that blood was Harmony. Something the defendant missed. Remember, he was careless in his meticulous cover-up. He made mistakes. That's going to be one of them. That blood in the ceiling, Harmony's blood in the ceiling, all that remained of Harmony. The defendant made sure of that. And surrounding that blood, surrounding this blood, surrounding what was left of Harmony, the defendant's fingerprints, his palm prints, frozen there for time. So at the shelter, the defendant had a problem. He was living in a shelter. He didn't have access to a freezer, and Harmony's body was beginning to rot and stink, and it was getting worse and worse by the day. People were complaining. This wasn't good for him. And it was around this time he started working at the Portland Pie Company, which used to be here in town, since closed. He worked there for just over a month. He was a dishwasher and a cook. And that CMC bag, the one that looked like this, that accompanied him to work. It stood out to people because he placed it in the freezer during his shifts. He brought it with him regularly to work, and he stored it in a freezer where the company kept food, ingredients. People saw him bringing that in and out regularly. They couldn't have imagined what that bag contained, but they saw it. And after they left the fit shelter, after the defendant left the shelter, he moved into an apartment on Union Street. And it was in the Union Street apartment that he began to discuss dismembering Harmony, squishing her, further contorting her body. He discussed.
Okay, so you guys that have followed Harmony's case, you'll remember Union Street. That's when a lot of the larger YouTubers and other people started grabbing hold of her case, even though the handful of us that were actually advocating for Harmony, the people that were locals, that were boots on the ground, were begging big YouTubers to cover her. So this is going to be pretty graphic as well.
Using a saw to cut her up. He discussed using lime to further decompose her so that there would be nothing to find. Remember, he believed that if there was no body, there could be no evidence, and he would get away with this horrible thing that he'd done, beating this little girl to death. He spent most of the day in that bathroom compressing Harmony. He took her out of the CMC bag and he placed her in the tub. She was frozen at that point, so he turned the hot water on and ran it over her so that he could manipulate her body, further compress her. Kayla walked into the bathroom as he was doing this. She saw what he was doing. She saw Harmony. Harmony at that point was
It really
skinny bone,
is.
and she saw the defendant squeezing Harmony, squishing Harmony, trying to remove the liquids that remained from her small body and down the drain of the tub. When Kayla walked into that bathroom, he told her to help him. You'll hear that Kayla obeyed. She held Harmony's arm while the defendant used the scissors to cut off Harmony's clothes. But this was too much for Kayla. She couldn't take what she was seeing, what the defendant was doing, the sick and grotesque things that he was doing to this child's body. And so she went to the living room to be with her two sons, to make sure that they didn't walk in and see what he was doing. So in that bathroom, the defendant shut the door behind her. That once bulging CMC bag, the bag that Harmony's body filled, he compressed it enough to add much of a 40-pound bag of lime. And he took breaks from the horror show in that bathroom. And during one of the breaks from working on Harmony's body, he said, I can put her in pieces. I can put her in pieces. I can cut her up. And while he was working in that bathroom, working on Harmony, he clogged the drain. Remember that as we go along. He clogged the drain. While he was squeezing her, getting the liquids out, he clogged the drains of the bathroom. And investigators learned that the defendant went to Home Depot on February 26th, just 6 days after they moved into that apartment. He went to Home Depot where he bought a saw, a backup saw blade, diamond cutting saw blade, a backup battery, and lime. That was on February 26th, just 6 days after he moved into that apartment. On February 27th, he placed a work order to unclog his drain. Now, it was around this time that the defendant began to suspect that Kayla was working with the police, trying to give them evidence to put him away for what he'd done to Harmony. He was suspicious of her, and he was pulling out outlets. He was pulling out light bulbs, light sockets, thinking that there were listening devices planted to get him for what he'd done to Harmony. And it was around this time that he started beating Kayla. He started threatening her that if she reported him, he would kill her. And that if he went to jail for what he did, he'd have someone else kill her. The abuse was constant and it came regularly. And Kayla documented the abuse as shown here. Less than a week after the horror show in that Union Street apartment bathroom, the defendant disposed.
Yeah, I like I said, Haley, I agree with you. You know, Kayla, by all means, was a victim to this monster as well. However, she had ways out. She had family. She had the police. She not only food stamp fraud and kept Harmony on her food stamp cases. She lied. She lied. In my honest opinion, the only reason that she came out and told what she knows is because they cut her a deal. I have her paperwork. I have police reports. I have pages and pages of stuff on Harmony's case. By no means is Kayla innocent. By no means. I've been a victim of domestic. I have a chunk of rib that's missing and a broken, restructured nose. So I get living with a monster. I get living scared of every day of your life. But you better believe if he had put his hands on my child and means to kill him when he was little, oh man, that man wouldn't have woke up from his sleep. There are resources out there. And hey, Melissa, welcome in. Thank you so much. Having a moment of venting here. And Haley says, right, he has to talk her up regardless their position on because the case depends on it. You're scared the jury won't buy it. I mean, I don't know how much of her history that this jury is going to hear. Whether they're going to find out what her charges were, why she's in jail. She testifies tomorrow morning from what I saw on Twitter. So that's going to be interesting watching her testify and see what all she has to say, because I will give Kayla this. If it wasn't for her, a lot of the graphic, gruesome details, we wouldn't know.
Of what remained of Harmony, what was left of her. He was meticulous in making sure that nothing came back on him. He enlisted help from friends. He asked a friend to get him a U-Haul van. A U-Haul van back then was cheaper than a rental car. You'll hear that this friend, he helped. He got him the van. The defendant at the time rented a hotel room so that he could leave the hotel room and dispose of Harmony. And when he came to bring the defendant the keys to the van with his girlfriend saw a CMC bag that was protruding from the hotel room's mini fridge, and that stood out to her. And when the friend gave the defendant the keys to that U-Haul van, the defendant said, I fucked up, and he repeated it over and over. I fucked up, me, the defendant, I fucked up. But he couldn't say how. He couldn't say what he'd done to fuck up. That was on March 3rd of 2020. The defendant left in the middle of the night, headed south. And when the defendant left, he told Kayla that he wasn't going to tell her where he was going to dump Harmony, where he was going to dispose of her. He didn't want her to have that information that she could later use against him. He was in control. He had all the pieces. He wasn't going to have someone know where evidence of the girl that he had brutally beaten was. He made sure that he was the only person that knew what he'd done with her. Remember, he believed that if there was no body, he could never be charged. He could never be charged with this heinous crime. And when he left the hotel room that night, he headed south to Mass, and he made another mistake. That U-Haul van that he rented, he blew through tolls on the Tobin Bridge, and a camera captured that van.
Sorry for the ads, guys. I need to get premium back.
Involving multiple states, Maine, Mass, New Hampshire, involving multiple agencies, both state and federal, thousands of man hours looking for this little girl. And you'll hear the defendant's words. You'll hear him on a recorded call during one of those searches telling his friend that investigators were wasting their time looking for this little girl that he brutally murdered. They were wasting their time. The defendant's words, you'll hear that. After disposing of Harmony, the defendant realized he had one loose end, his wife, Kayla. And so he conditioned her. The abuse got worse over those months and months. He beat her. She was a loose end to him and nothing more. Now, you'll hear that Kayla lied. She stuck to a story that the defendant gave her. She was scared at what would happen to her at the hands of the man she witnessed beat this small child to death and drag her body around for months. She's gone to prison for those lies. And since then, she's helped investigators. She's helped investigators find proof that Harmony's dead. That blood in the ceiling with the defendant's fingerprints. She spoke to investigators and police for hours upon hours over multiple days. Statements that gave investigators evidence that they wouldn't have without her. Gave a mother some sense of closure, knowing that her daughter is dead, still out there somewhere, but not suffering. Not anymore. Now, Kayla's testimony is important. She saw what happened. She felt it. She lived it. She's still living it. But the reason you only have one witness to the defendant's crime is because he killed the other, the witness that he couldn't control, the witness that he couldn't manipulate. But even though Kayla's testimony is important, this case doesn't rest solely on her shoulders. You're going to hear about the forensic evidence, the physical evidence that corroborates what she says, about the surveillance footage. You'll hear and see evidence that corroborates Kayla in ways that she never could have imagined. You'll hear and see evidence that shows you who killed Harmony. who had motive to destroy her after he killed her. And you'll hear some of the defendant's lies for yourself. You'll hear about the absurd story he told to evade apprehension, that he gave Harmony back to her mother in mass the day before Thanksgiving in 2019. That was his excuse. That was his lie. But in those 2 years where he didn't have to answer for this crime, where he thought he was free and clear of what he'd done, he told someone that he trusted what he really thought of Harmony. Told her that she...
Haley says, I don't want to throw off your stream, but do you think he'll say where they, if able to find her now that he's pled guilty to the charges in regards to her remains? No, I don't. I don't. And you're not throwing off my stream, honey. That's why we're here. We're one big community. No, I don't think he'll tell. I don't think he'll ever tell. And if you really want me to be honest about it, if you replay crew the live I did last night, you're gonna see how close the river is to where they were. I mean, you can Google map and see how close the river is. A lot of people think she's in the river. I'm not so sure about that. I've spent sleepless nights in Facebook group messenger chats with other people that are locals that this hit really hard home to. And I don't think they're ever going to find her. Honestly, in all reality, I don't think she's in one place. Because if you remember what the state just told us is that he dismembered her. He bought a diamond saw. So I honestly believe that he put her in several different places. And that's my opinion. Like I said, I know what I've read in documents. I know what I've been told by locals. I know what I've seen just researching her case. But no, I don't think he will. And him pleading or taking responsibility for the abuse of a corpse and falsifying evidence, in my opinion, that's some kind of tactic. Adam Montgomery is a hell of a lot smarter than he looks. So just kind of one of those things where I'm waiting for the ball to drop. Said, I don't either. I've been hoping so hard, wishful thinking. I just want what was left to be laid to rest, respectively. Yeah, absolutely. And I do too. I think she's all over that area. Says that's what she thinks exactly. And Carrie says there may not be negotiations. He'll cough up her. There may be negotiation, so he'll cough up her location. I honestly don't think he will. I think he's going to try to get off somehow by possibly throwing Kayla under the bus or who knows else. But I don't think he'll ever take accountability. And I don't think he'll ever let her be laid to rest. Admitting where she is would solidify that he did it, and he doesn't have the cojones, to be honest, the cojones. I agree. He's a monster, and he's a coward. A coward that can't even go to court like a man, since he's such a big man that likes to beat little babies. I'm going to let the state finish up here because I'll get on a rant, y'all.
She was evil, that she did evil things. He told her that Harmony was a constant reminder of her mother, Crystal Sorey, who he hated. And he told her that he hated Harmony to his core. That's what he said in secret about the innocent child that he beaten to death. The helpless girl that he beat because she soiled herself. He hated Harmony to his core, and the evidence is going to show that he did everything to destroy Harmony after he beat her, to hide his crime, to hide evidence of what he'd done. And for what the defendant did, he's been charged with multiple crimes that the clerk read to you yesterday in open court. And the evidence will prove that he's guilty of each and every one of them. He's guilty of the second-degree assault for beating Harmony in that July 2019 incident, for bashing her around the house, for beating her off every wall in the house, for kicking the dog shit out of her, for causing the black eye, causing that injury to Harmony. Just like he's guilty of reckless second-degree murder for beating Harmony to death in the Chrysler Sebring on December 7th, 2019. He's guilty of falsifying physical evidence for mutilating Harmony's corpse, for destroying her, for putting her somewhere she would never be found. And he's guilty of tampering with a witness, for beating Kayla, for threatening her, for compelling her to stick to the story that he gave her. And he's guilty of abuse of a corpse, for his conduct in the Union Street apartment bathroom, for compressing Harmony into that small bag, adding lime to it. Those are the crimes the defendant in this case committed. That's what he's guilty of. The defendant committed multiple violent crimes against a small child, a helpless child. In December 2019, he assaulted and he murdered because of that rage, his rage. He destroyed Harmony so that he could never be caught. And he beat Kayla for control. That's what the defendant did to his victim in this case. And at the conclusion of this trial, that's what we'll ask you to find him guilty of.
Okay, so as promised, I'm going to pause this
Are you ready?
and I'm going to share Uncle Kevin. I'll back it up, guys. Sorry, I'm got 2 screens going. I guess I need 3.
Arrest in the Harmony Montgomery case. This time it is the stepmother of that little girl. Kayla Montgomery is charged with welfare fraud for allegedly hauling in 2 years of food stamps money, all while little Harmony was missing. Police say Kayla and her then husband, Adam Montgomery, were claiming Harmony as a dependent, even though the 7-year-old wasn't living with them. Kayla told police last week that during those 2 years, she believed Harmony was living with her biological mother, Sorey. Kayla believed that because she says back in November 2019, when she was still living with her husband and Harmony's dad, Adam Montgomery, Adam left with the little girl and said he was driving her down to Massachusetts to be with her mom. But that mom, Sorey, said she never took custody of Harmony and in fact hadn't seen her daughter since April of 2019, more than 6 months before. So where did Adam bring his daughter? And is that story even true? Nobody knows. And that's the reason Adam was arrested on Tuesday. He's charged with 2nd-degree assault, interference with custody, and endangering the welfare of a child. So far, he has refused to tell police where his daughter might be. And as of right now, the last time anyone has seen Harmony was during a police visit to her home, a wellness check back in October of 2020. Tonight, first, right out of the gate, have you had any updates at all from police or family members on Harmony's whereabouts?
None.
Nothing at all? No one sharing
No.
any information with you?
Nope.
So
No.
tell me, what made you initially call the police on your nephew, on Adam? What was it that got you so worried?
So I won't get into details, but there was just things that raised an alarm with me. And I called the authorities. And just be clear, I love the police. They're doing everything they can. First and foremost, DSS, or Family and Children's Services, failed my niece here. And that's why we're here today. If they listened in the first place, this wouldn't be happening. And my niece is out there. She has family that love her, aunts and uncles and grandmothers and great-grandmothers and grandfathers. And yeah, we just want her home. And I don't like the public. If you can't help this situation, please don't distract from what the people that are trying to help are doing. The words, the viciousness, everybody wants to be in this story but me. I want to be as far away from this story as I possibly can, but I can't. I have to be my niece's voice, and I'll stay as relentless as long as my body will take, as much as it will take. I know there's a lot of support out there, but there's a lot of aggressiveness, and just back off.
Kevin, can I ask you if you've had a chance to talk with Adam, who is, again, he's your nephew, and Harmony is your grandniece, but have you had a chance to talk with Adam since he's been arrested, or even within the days around his arrest?
I haven't talked to him in years.
Tell me about that.
I kind of want to keep the focus on Harmony here, please. I don't want to. That's my concern. The justice system, whatever happens, all that will take its course. I'm here to try to raise awareness, money with my GoFundMe page, and I just want to stick the focus on Harmony. I don't want this story to die. I don't want it to fizzle out. I want to talk about finding Harmony. Anyone out there that has seen Harmony, it doesn't matter if it was 6 months ago, 6 weeks ago, anything will help. Any information, any. Just imagine if it was your daughter, your niece, your granddaughter. People know. Someone knows. Someone knows something. Someone saw something.
So, Kevin, let me ask you, because there is so little information and because Harmony has been missing for so long, the only thing anyone has to go on is what was happening right up until the time that Harmony disappeared. And so that's why some of these questions are, as uncomfortable as they are, they're necessary. In the police affidavit, you were very informative about some of the things that had happened to little Harmony before she went missing. And it was just heartbreaking to read the details that Harmony had been, I think one of the quotes is bashed around the house by Adam, that she'd been forced to clean a toilet with a toothbrush, and that she'd been forced to stand in the corner for hours, to the point where she wet herself. And then there are big redactions, big black marks all through some of the things that you told the police. Can you fill in what those blanks are, Kevin? What were the other things that you said that have been blacked out?
I'm not sure. I don't remember. I don't remember. I don't know what's blackout. I never seen those reports. I know what I said in the reports, and I stand that I said what I said. And I don't want to mess up this investigation by giving out too much information. The police are working their tails off. I know they are. I talk to them often. And
do you want to travel more? Become a sperm donor with Cryos and make...
yeah, I talk to them often about any way I can help. Any details I can remember, we try to go over. And it's just heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking.
Kevin, can I ask, in some of the history that we've been reading through and trying to piece together this mystery, you called the police in July of 2019 because you'd seen Harmony with a black eye. And then it's my understanding, was it you that called the police in October, just a couple months later? And if that was you, what was the circumstance that led to that call?
Correct. So that call it was my mother's house, and we wanted to go there and get some things that my mother wanted to retrieve and to check on the kids. And when we got there, we had to get a police escort when we got there to go in and get some of the things.
Can you tell me why and what it was that was so concerning that you would need a police escort to enter the home?
There was just conflict there. We had a falling out for whatever transpired previous to that. And so just the safest way for no issues was to just get someone there that can mediate the situation.
So in that visit with the police escort, did you see Harmony and did you see what condition she was in?
I did. She looked timid, but that's all I could say on that. I only got a brief look at her.
And was that the last time any other family member that you know of saw her?
At least my immediate family. I'm not sure about his other side of the family. I'm not sure. My immediate family, on my side of the family, yes.
Did Harmony say anything to you on that last visit when you last saw her 2 years ago that might have been an indication that things were really bad in that home?
No, she didn't say nothing.
Was she allowed to talk to you?
I'm not sure. I didn't see anything to be said for her not to talk to me. I'm not sure.
And Kevin, what was the condition of the home? What did it look like when you went in there? This is the home where, you know, this little child was last living at 5 years old.
It just, it wasn't well at all. It just wasn't well.
Can you be more specific?
Yeah, I would rather not comment.
I know this is difficult for you. I know these questions are tough. I think everyone who's watching just wants to get as much information as possible to piece together this mystery and hopefully lead to finding your niece and solving this awful mystery. There are more children, 3 other children by Kayla and Adam. Those would be half siblings of Harmony. Do you know where they are staying tonight? Because both Adam and Kayla are now in jail. To our knowledge, are not able to make bond. Adam obviously facing these related charges, not to her being missing, but to child abuse and neglect. And Kayla now facing charges for fraud, for still collecting the food stamps for the last 2 years, even though Harmony's been nowhere to be seen. Where are their 3 other children tonight?
So from what I believe, only from a news interview from the mother, Kayla's mother has them.
Kayla's mother. So is that a safe environment? Do you know anything about her?
No, I don't ever remember meeting her mother, but it could have been once, but I'm not sure.
Did you have any concerns about Kayla? I know you had your concerns about Adam. You called the police, but did you have any concerns about Kayla?
Kayla and what? Did I have any concerns about Kayla with what?
And how she treated Harmony and what Harmony's circumstance was living with her?
I just don't want to.
I know it's difficult, but it's important information.
It is.
You know, when people are trying to figure out where to look, where to think, what clues might have been going on before she disappeared.
I understand that, but that's my purpose. That's my purpose, is to raise awareness on how to find her, who might have seen her, and that question has nothing to do with where Harmony may or may not be today.
Can I ask you this difficult question, Kevin? And I think it's imperative because the way you're speaking, it sounds like you believe that Harmony is still alive. I think everybody wants to know if, people who knew Adam or people who know Adam, and certainly that's your nephew, if you think he may have killed her.
I would not answer that. I'm holding out hope that we find and bring Harmony home safe.
What's in your gut?
My gut tells me there's always hope until you tell me there's no hope left to have.
I know this has been a tough night for you, all things considered, the weather as well. But Kevin Montgomery, thank you so much. I know you're raising money for the reward money for your GoFundMe. Let's hope that we can find your little grandniece. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Click
Okay,
the red
so
subscribe
that
button
was
below so you can get more of.
That was the interview that he done. So, hello, Doxy. Welcome in. Sorry, guys. I had to walk the dogs. Thank you so much for popping in. I appreciate it. And I love Harley, woman after my heart there. Everybody say hello to Doxy. Welcome in. Okay, so I'm going to start the trial back up. This is going to be the defense. So we're going to listen to the defense give his opening statements.
You were just left with that picture of Harmony, and seeing that picture is heartbreaking, knowing that Harmony is dead. But Adam Montgomery did not kill Harmony. Adam Montgomery did not beat Harmony in the head as he approached the Burger King drive-thru. Adam Montgomery did not cause Harmony's death. Kayla Montgomery was the last person to see Harmony alive and know how Harmony died. But she didn't come clean with Adam. She didn't come clean with the police. And she will not come clean with you. She is still lying about the cause of Harmony's death. Even though Kayla now has her deal with the state, she continues.
Oh, I called it. I knew it. I haven't watched this, guys, so I'm watching this with you guys. I absolutely knew it. What a little snake in the grass. All right, I'll let him finish.
Used to lie. The only reason Kayla has to lie now is to protect herself. The only reason she has to lie and point the finger at Adam is because the truth points the finger at her. The only reason Kayla has to lie to make Harmony's death so brutal and foul by Adam is to hide that Adam was protecting Kayla, his wife, and the mother of his kids. Now look, I'm not pretending that Adam isn't innocent here. Adam is not an innocent here. He and Kayla covered up Harmony's death. He's not an innocent here. He and Kayla moved Harmony's body from place to place to keep it hidden. And Adam is not an innocent here. He and Kayla put her body in a shower to wash her remains of the fluids of decomposition and then permanently hid her remains. You can and should find him guilty of those crimes. But in committing those crimes and sticking with a story that protected his wife, Adam set himself up for Kayla's betrayal. Her betrayal to accuse him in the most vile way possible of what he did not do. To accuse him of brutally killing his, not her, daughter, when she knew that was not what happened. The evidence that will show you that Adam did not brutally murder Harmony will come mostly, and very reluctantly, from his accuser, Kayla. Not from other witnesses or the physical evidence, but by showing that Kayla's lies continue. The only one protected by those lies is her. Because only she, other than an infant and a toddler, was around when Harmony died. Only she knows the truth, and only she has benefited from all the lies she has told. November 27, 2019. a day before Thanksgiving. Adam, Kayla, Adam's daughter, Harmony, toddler son, Seamus, infant son, Declan, were evicted from their home on Guildford Street in Manchester. They began living out of their Chrysler Sebring. In the following week, when Adam was running around trying to make money to get them out of their situation, Kayla was left cooped up in that seemingly increasingly smaller by the minute car with a 5-year-old child, not her own, a 2-year-old toddler, and a less than 1-year infant, all of whom needed attention, all of whom needed to move around, and none of whom were doing well being cooped up in that car. And Kayla didn't do well either. Adam was off doing his own thing, and Kayla was stuck. Harmony's body was not discovered lifeless in the car at that big intersection you saw yesterday. It was not discovered at that intersection in the middle of the day on December 7, 2019, as Kayla now claims. Both Adam and Kayla discovered Harmony's cold, lifeless body much earlier, in the dark of night, behind Colonial Village, when Adam returned from his business. Kayla made Adam feel responsible. She claimed not to know what happened. It was Adam's fault for everything they were going through. It was not her fault, she insisted. She thought all the kids were asleep. He had to protect her. He had to protect their children. If anyone found out, their children would be taken. Adam stood by Kayla, and together they covered up Harmony's death. By that decision, Adam became so intertwined in Harmony's death that he could not get out. Neither Adam nor Kayla knew what to do, so they put the decision off. Adam placed Harmony's body in a duffel bag from the car and placed that duffel bag in the trunk. And Harmony's body was in that bag in the trunk of the car when it broke down at the intersection of Webster and Elm. They had driven off from the Colonial Village apartments to try and figure out what to do, where to put Harmony's body. But then the car broke down. When it did, Adam grabbed the bag from the trunk and carried Harmony's body away from the intersection to the parking lot at Colonial Village. From there, as you'll hear, Harmony's body was moved from place to place until Adam and Kayla finally figured out a plan to hide the body permanently. When asked, Adam and Kayla told people that Harmony was back with her biological mom in Massachusetts.
In my opinion, it's that play on words. Adam and Kayla. Adam and Kayla. I understand that this is his attorney, but you always have to listen and not hear what's being said.
Let's now move forward 2 years. December 2021. This was 2 years after Harmony's death and close to a year after Kayla and Adam had separated. The police were now investigating Harmony's disappearance. They found Kayla and asked her where to find Adam and where Harmony was. Kayla gave the lie she and Adam had used to explain why Harmony was no longer living with them after Harmony died in December 2019. That Adam had returned Harmony to her mother in Massachusetts. Kayla also told the police that she believed Adam was in Maine. After speaking with the police, she contacts Adam. And she told him, quote, "You need to come down here." She told him he needed to return to New Hampshire and deal with the police because she was not going to deal with all of this by herself. Adam did what Kayla told him to do and returned. But unfortunately for Kayla, he also brought another woman, Kelsey Small, with him. Adam met up with Kayla and they talked about what to do. That New Year's Eve 2021, Kayla talked to the police again. This time, it was at the Manchester police station. She again gave the lie that protected her, insisting Adam took Harmony to her mother's, and that was all that she knew. And after well over an hour of talking, Kayla stuck with this lie. The police gave her time alone to think, to write down what she wanted to say, just in case it was too difficult to verbally speak about. And Kayla did take that time alone to think and to write. And this is what she wrote. Quote, "I don't know what happened. No clue. I just know he left to bring her to meet her mom to give Harmony to her after he dropped me off at work in the morning. And she wrote, "You need to get him to talk. He won't tell me anything. So he obviously did something and isn't saying anything to me." Kayla was ready to point the finger at Adam, but only in a way that protected herself. 5 days later, January 5th, Kayla was arrested anyway, but for something different than what the police had wanted to talk with her about. Instead of being arrested in relation to Harmony's disappearance, she was arrested for something else, what eventually became a theft charge. But she knew the arrest was to pressure her. While in jail, Kayla had more time to think and to scheme. How was she going to get out of this mess that she was in? She knew that the police thought she had information about what happened to Harmony, and she knew that the walls were closing in. Kayla also knew that pointing the finger at Adam was worth something, and pointing the finger would help get her out of this mess, and she thought about how to use Adam to get out of it. What I am holding up for you is defense's G for identification. This plastic bag contains a note. This note is written by Kayla, and it reflects what she wanted for a bargain. A few weeks after her incarceration, this note was found in Kayla's cell. And in her musings, she writes of her willingness to, quote, betray Adam. Not to finally be free of Adam, not to finally be safe from him, not to tell the truth, to betray, meaning stab him in the back. But she also wrote of her longing to be alone with him one more time, to kiss, to make love if she could. She didn't write of fearing to be alone with him. She did not write of any fear that Adam would hurt or kill her for her betrayal. In her fairy tale musings, Adam would understand and protect her to the end. Their children needed their mother, she wrote. But as this note also shows, Kayla wanted more than just one last time with Adam. She had a whole wish list, a set of demands. She wanted, quote, immunity from everything. Everything being in all capital letters. She wanted immunity from everything, all charges I'm facing, and what I'm going to say about Adam. Maybe ankle bracelet, or probation, or drug court. Kids in my life. Not lose custody or rights to my children at all, and be able to have kids live with me once I do a residential treatment program and complete it. Kayla was willing to sing for her supper, not for truth, not for harmony, but for Kayla. Kayla was all about protecting herself to wiggle out of accountability for her own conduct. After that note was discovered in Kayla's cell in January of 2022, January 29th,
That part,
to be
Andy.
exact, Kayla told a correctional officer that she wanted to speak with the Attorney General's office. But no one came to her with a deal. And instead of a deal, she got a subpoena. She got subpoenaed to appear before the grand jury in March, and she remained in jail. Now, Kayla finally got out on bail on May 6th, but she still had been subpoenaed to testify before the grand jury, this time on May 20th. Still no deal. And when Kayla finally appeared before the grand jury, she still had no deal. It was explained to Kayla that she could choose not to answer a question if it would incriminate her. Instead, though, she chose to lie under oath, the same oath you'll see her take later, trying to make herself look innocent while pointing the finger at Adam. She told the grand jury that Adam had dropped her off at Dunkin' Donuts on November 30th with Harmony and the two boys in the car, and said that he was returning Harmony to her mother in Massachusetts. But even as Kayla insisted that she didn't know what happened to Harmony, a bombshell drops. The Attorney General's office, the AG, told her as she was testifying, she was working at Dunkin' Donuts, that they had her employment records. Was she sure? They asked. Kayla knew then that she was caught. She was caught in a lie. The AG had her employment records, looked at them, and knew that she was not working. And this was not just a simple, honest mix-up of days. Those records showed that the AG's office had. Those records showed that she had been fired from Dunkin' Donuts for stealing even before the family had been evicted on the 27th of November. She knew she was caught in a lie. She knew the AG's office could prove it, but she had not developed a new lie and couldn't change course in midstream without a plan. So that day before the grand jury, May 20th, she kept marching forward, hoping that maybe they would believe her anyway. Nothing happened at first after her grand jury testimony was over, but Kayla knew it was coming. And roughly 2 weeks later, on June 3rd, when Kayla checked in as part of her bail conditions, it did. It came. She was arrested for lying before the grand jury. Kayla had a new story prepared, but with the new charges, the state had the upper hand. She was allowed to give her new story with the agreement that her statements could not later be used against her. But there was no guarantee of a deal. And instead, Kayla would only get that deal that she wanted if her statements helped the police figure out what happened to Harmony. And if the state decided that Kayla's statements were not helpful, she would be facing not only the charges she was already facing, but now 2 more felony charges, this time for perjury, perjuring herself before the grand jury, plus any charges that could come about if the police were able to figure out.
No, I did not FOIA the information that I have. You're talking about the 101 page document? I have the link on my channel. I'm sure I've got it in my notes too. And some of the other documentation that I have has come from locals, because I've worked with a few locals that were there. Some people actually helped search boots on the ground, and some are just locals around there. If you're talking about the 101 page document, I'll grab the link. I know it's in the description of one of them, of my lives, I have a playlist for Harmony, so I do have that in a description.
What happened to Harmony without her statements. And Kayla knew that the police were going to follow up on what she now said. And without something to corroborate this new story she was going to give, there wouldn't be any reason for the police to accept it. After all, she had already lied to the grand jury to point the finger at Adam. So instead of the truth, she told a lie of a brutal killing where she was also a victim. But because there cannot be any corroboration for the lie itself, Kayla intermingled some of the truth of how she and Adam covered up Harmony's death. The lie itself cannot be corroborated, but there would be corroboration in the truth of the cover-up. Because Kayla's new story was not true of how Harmony died, she lacked real memories to draw from, and the details did not fit. Both the details she provided and the ones she did not provide. And it is in those details based on a lie, that begin to reveal the lie still being told by Kayla. At first, Kayla's new story for the police, when she gave a proffer on June 3rd of 2022, her new story was that it was the middle of the night, 2 or 3 a.m. Harmony had been having trouble controlling her bodily functions while the family had been living out of the car, and Harmony went to the bathroom again. Adam responded by repeatedly punching Harmony, probably like 10 to 15 times. That story changed to Adam assaulting Harmony in the morning before they went to the clinic for their methadone. The story then continued by saying that Adam struck Harmony again after getting back in the car from the clinic. Then, as they drove to Burger King because Kayla wanted to get something to eat for her and the kids, The story expanded to Adam punching Harmony as he was driving into the Burger King parking lot. Kayla claimed to recall Adam commenting that the last strike was different. He thought he hurt Harmony. Kayla did tell the police that she put an arm up briefly to try and stop Adam, but to no avail. Adam drove up to the Burger King drive-thru. They ordered their food. Adam paid cash. The family got their food and drove back to the Colonial Village apartments with Harmony moaning in the back. That's her story. And when asked, Kayla claimed that she fed the kids. She told the police that she went up to her friend Anthony Bodero's residence to get some drugs for she and Adam to use, leaving Adam alone in the car with Declan, Seamus, and Harmony. This whole entire story was not true. Excuse me. One of the things that you'll see that reveals her story about punching to be alive is that she is unable to describe a true scene. She does not describe 2-year-old Seamus crying as his sister beside him is being struck. She does not describe the baby screaming as violence and chaos break out around him. She does not describe trying to soothe or quiet the children. Nor does she describe Adam reacting at all to what would have been a cacophony of screaming and crying had all that punching been true. She does not describe trying to hide a broken child from the Burger King cashier or any concern on Adam's part that Harmony might be seen by the cashier or the camera. She does not describe Harmony as she feeds, piece by piece, food to Seamus, who is next to her in the backseat of the car. She does not describe seeking help from her friend she got drugs from. She doesn't describe any concern by her friend, Anthony Bodero's, that she seems upset. And please keep close attention to Kayla's various descriptions of the car breaking down, where she claims that she and Adam first discovered that Harmony is dead. Kayla told the police that with Harmony in what would have been a critical, perhaps fatal condition in the back seat, the family decided to drive away from their corner in the back of the Colonial Village apartments. Yet Kayla did not remember where they were going. Then the car broke down at the intersection of Webster and Elm, and they discover Harmony's dead body in the back seat. Kayla talked about waving, honking, agitated drivers behind them around the car as Adam manhandles a dead child in the back seat into a duffel bag. And no one notices. Their car did break down on December 7th at the intersection of Webster and Elm. That is not in question here. And the family did walk back to Bodero's. But Harmony's body was already in the duffel bag, in the trunk, for when they discovered her death in the early hours of the night before.
To answer your question, FARQ, and welcome back from the cat, I do not believe that he's going to be there unless he's going to testify. With Jen, Crime Curious, I don't think he's going to show up in court. And Dindy says, I hope they have CCTV. Right. Yeah, Haley, I dropped the link for the 101-page document. You are so welcome, love. It took me a second to find it. Like I said, I have so much on her case. It's unreal.
Yesterday, before we broke, the court gave you a partial set of instructions on how you are to go about deciding this case. Among them was an instruction on assessing the credibility of witnesses. It is up to you to determine the credibility of witnesses. But the judge did suggest an illustrative list of factors to consider in making that determination. One factor is whether what the witness said appeared reasonable. In discerning this, details matter, the details that are given and the details that are not. Is the witness pulling from a well of true memory or just making it up? Another factor the court has offered for your consideration is whether what the witness said is consistent with other evidence in the case. And that leads me to some of the science that was used in this case. Kayla also described Adam cleaning up blood spilled by Harmony with a kerchief. That lie was exposed by a special test that can reveal blood traces. even blood that was supposedly cleaned up. Luckily for the police, they were able to locate the broken down Sebring 2 years later. They're able to bring it to their lot at the police station, and they're able to search and test it with a special test that could detect invisible blood that cannot be seen with a
Okay, so I actually have the link for that too. Sleuths found the car.
naked eye. No traces of blood, including on the back
I happen to know the sleuth that found the car.
passenger seat where Kayla said Harmony bled and Adam cleaned it up. In offering guidance and assessing witness credibility, another common sense factor offered by the court is whether the witness had a bias or motive to lie. There will be time during Kayla's testimony, during direct and cross, to explore the changes, the inconsistencies, and details within her story, both those that are there and those that are not. And you just heard about the science to also assist you in evaluating Kayla's claims. But here, what follows is an example of Kayla's motive to lie at play, of Kayla taking something true and twisting it to point the finger at Adam, yet hide her own involvement. In telling the police how Harmony's body was finally removed from their lives, Kayla described an incredibly disturbing treatment of Harmony's body. Her remains in the refrigerator before being placed in the shower under hot water, washing away the fluids. Kayla at first said it was all Adam, and he wouldn't even let her in the bathroom. But she slipped up, and fortunately the interviewers caught it. They caught the slip and they probed. Kayla had to admit that she was part of it too. She cut off Harmony's hoodie in the shower, and she and Adam bagged up Harmony's clothes. And when that was done, Kayla and Adam put her remains in another bag, with Kayla helping Adam to zip that bag up. You will hear that after Adam and Kayla permanently hid Harmony's remains, that their relationship became more frayed. Adam struggled with the loss of Harmony and his mental health suffering. Adam and Kayla separated briefly. That was in the spring of 2020 before reconciling. But Adam continued to spiral, and a year later was arrested after another episode. He went to rehab, then stayed at a sober house before going to Maine with Kelsey Small, which was where he was in December of 2021 when Kayla told him to return to New Hampshire and help her deal with the police. Joined with the murder and related charges is a second-degree assault charge. That allegation is that Adam knowingly caused bodily injury to Harmony in July of 2019 by striking her in the face with a fist. Harmony did get a black eye during the summer of 2019, and no question about it, Adam did react when he saw Harmony trying to smother her brother, jerking her away to stop her. But that is not what caused the black eye. On July 22nd of 2019, Kevin Montgomery, Adam's uncle, came up from Florida to the house. He saw Harmony's black eye, prompting a conversation about her. During this conversation, Adam told Kevin about a time when he walked in to find Harmony smothering then 5-month-old Declan. Harmony had her hand wrapped around his mouth, causing him to turn blue. Adam pushed Harmony away while checking on Declan. Then, a week later, upon returning to Florida, I believe it was July 29th, Kevin made a report to New Hampshire DCYF. And he told DCYF that Adam gave Harmony a black eye, conflating what Adam had said. A veteran caseworker, Dimitrios Saros, responded that very same day, the 29th, to investigate. Though the encounter was brief, he did see Adam and Harmony outside the house getting into a car. And when he saw Harmony, he observed no concerns. He also followed up, paying another visit on August 7th. This time, he did see a small red mark in Harmony's right eye and faded bruising under the eyelid. He spoke to Harmony alone, asked probing questions to find out what may or may not have happened, and then, after doing his job, left the visit satisfied that there was no substantiated evidence of abuse. I am getting ready to step down, but before I do, there is just one more instruction I need to discuss. The court has instructed you that you are to decide this case not on sympathy, but on the evidence and the evidence alone. This case involves the tragic and senseless death of Harmony, an innocent 5-year-old, and it triggers perfectly understandable, innate human emotions, and it would be a human not to feel them. But as was discussed during the jury selection process, and as you've been instructed by the court, you all have a difficult yet necessary task: deciding this case not on emotion, not on sympathy, but on the evidence. And after you have heard all the evidence, after you've heard all the evidence in this case and apply the facts to the law, you will know that Adam did not murder his daughter or engage in witness tampering with Kayla. Kayla was an equal participant in the cover-up. She alone knows how Harmony died, and she won't tell. At this trial's conclusion, we will ask you to follow the evidence you have heard and find Adam not guilty of murdering his daughter, witness tampering with Kayla, and second-degree assault.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you've now heard opening statements. As I told you when I gave you my preliminary instructions, we would generally be taking a mid-morning and mid-afternoon break, and I do look for natural breaking points in a trial to do that. I think this is one of them. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a 15-minute break now. So use the restroom, have a drink of water.
Okay, so they're going to take a break, and we're going to take a look. So you guys heard a name, and you're not going to see this witness. And for those of y'all that are new to the case, I feel like it's important to bring this up while we're waiting, which we're not going to wait the entire break time. I'm going to skip through the break. So Harmony Montgomery update. This was March 24th of 2022. Girlfriend of missing New Hampshire girl's father found dead. I'm not saying he had anything to do with this. I just feel it's important to show you guys the face that you will not see testify in court. Kelsey Small, the girlfriend of Adam Montgomery, who was arrested in January 2 years after the mysterious disappearance of his daughter, 7-year-old Harmony Montgomery, found dead earlier this month. Small, 27, who did not face charges in connection with Harmony's case, was found in a hotel March 13th. Police told WMUR, which is where Boston News 25. This is a People magazine. Her death is not considered suspicious, according to both outlets. An obituary for Small states she died unexpectedly. People have reached out to the Manchester Police Department for comment, but they did not immediately hear back. So this is a face that you guys are not going to see in this case testifying for Harmony, this beautiful little baby. Small's death marks the latest update in connection to Harmony, then 5, who police say hasn't been seen since late 2019. On December 31st, 2021, authorities issued a missing child alert after learning of her disappearance. The Manchester Police Department has since launched an investigation to find her. They have interviewed several members of Harmony's families for information about what might have happened to her. Here's her poster. The New Hampshire Police. That's a Twitter, I believe. Yeah, that's a Twitter. Less than a week after reported missing, Harmony's biological father, Adam, 31, was taken into custody. Multiple counts. I'm sorry, guys. I got off work, went straight into stream. Adam was charged with a felony second-degree assault with the connection of 2019 conduct against his daughter. The New Hampshire Attorney General's office said in a statement he was also charged with 1 misdemeanor charge of interference with a custody, 2 misdemeanor charges of endangering the welfare of a child pertaining to Harmony. The arrest came just days after new details emerged of the disturbing case. In an interview with the Daily Beast, Harmony's great uncle Kevin said that the little girl looked like a scared puppy. The last time he saw her in 2019, Kevin said that he had been at Harmony's house during a family dispute that frightened the little girl. After the dispute, Adam blocked most of his family from contact with the little girl. She has not been seen since. A week after Adam's arrest, Harmony's stepmom, Kayla, was also taken into custody and charged with 1 felony count of theft by deception and 2 misdemeanor counts of welfare fraud. She is also accused of making intentional false statements that Harmony was living in her home with her husband and their children in February of 2021 in order to claim benefits. In a statement obtained by People in late January, authorities said Harmony appeared to be living with her dad, stepmom, and the couple's 2 children when they were evicted from the residence on Guilford Street in Manchester, November 27th of 2019. Multiple individuals reported seeing the girl with Adam and Kayla in the days that followed, but between December 6th to the 10th of 2019, the couple was seen with only their 2 common children and not Harmony. The information leads police to believe that sometime during this window, approximately November 28th to December 10th, 2019, that Harmony Montgomery disappeared, said the statement from the New Hampshire Attorney General, John M. Formella. Police say the missing girl stands 4 foot tall, weighs 50 pounds. She's legally blind in her right eye and wears glasses. And then it says anyone is urged to call the Manchester Police Department at 603-668-8711 or the Manchester Crime Line 642-4040. And I'm going to drop that in the chat just so it's there. And I'm going to check chat and then we're going to skip through and we're going to go back into, and this is the 101 page report that I dropped in chat. It's pretty disturbing if you haven't read it. Let's see. Thank you for the review info. You're welcome. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. She was a beautiful young lady. Absolutely. Sorry, how can you see blue lips over it's but my opinion, he lied. Slugged a little girl and saw blue lips. Facts. Yeah, how can you see blue lips if her hand was over them? And I call bullshit on that. He's a liar and a manipulator, and I don't know, I just don't believe it. So I'm going to skip past the break. And the first witness that we're going to see, let me pull this up. They're swearing her in. Where's my mute button? Sorry, guys, my computer's freaking out.
You can make yourself comfortable in that lady. There's a microphone. I'm just going to ask that you speak into that so that everyone can hear what you're saying. Can you begin by stating and spelling your last name for the record?
Yep. Michelle Raftery, Raftery.
And what's your date of birth, Ms. Raftery?
9/11/70.
Where do you currently live?
Haverhill, Massachusetts.
And how long have you lived there?
In Haverhill, about 25 years.
Who do you live there with?
My husband and 3 of my children.
And what's your husband's name?
Timothy.
And your children? What are
The ones
their
that are home?
ages?
Oh, their ages?
Yes.
Ben's 25, Jaden is 14, and Claire is 13.
And do you have children that live with you?
Those are the ones that live with me. Yeah.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a behavioral health partner
And how long have you done that?
for a year.
Prior to that, what did you do for a living?
I was a FRL, a family resource liaison.
And can you explain what that is to the jurors?
Yes, I work with foster parents and I help support them and run support groups and trainings for them.
Do you have any experience as a foster parent yourself?
Yes, I do. Over 13 years.
And can you tell the jury about that experience?
Yes, we had the privilege of being Harmony's foster parents.
And you mentioned the name Harmony just now.
Yep.
Who is she to you?
She was our foster daughter.
What did she call you?
Mama.
Your husband, Tim, what did she call him?
She called him Dada and Papa.
You
Facts.
said that you've been a foster parent for 13 years?
Yep.
What point in that time when those 13 years did you take Harmony in?
Thank you, Doxy.
Like probably halfway through the years. Yep. So she came to us at 2014.
And tell us about that.
Yep. So you always start off, you get a phone call from DCF and they tell you a little bit about the child. And Harmony was 2 months old at the time, and she had a pretty intimidating diagnosis at first. So, you know, I did a lot of Google research, but I still knew that we wanted to say yes. And Harmony came and lived with us when she was 2 months old.
Pretty intimidating. What were you told about Harmony before?
So
you took her?
we were told that she has hydroprocephaly, which is like a disorder with her brainstem. And we were told that she was legally blind in both eyes, and that she probably wasn't going to live 7 months.
I'm sorry, can you say that last thing?
Yeah, that she probably wasn't going to live past 7 months old. Hydroprocephaly was the original first diagnosis.
You mentioned this blindness.
Mhm.
What can you tell us about that?
So at that time, she had a whole team of doctors, and she was considered legally blind in both eyes. However, I started to notice when I would feed Harmony that she would track me with one of her eyes, at least one of her eyes. And, you know, then we went on to get different diagnoses for her.
You mentioned having Harmony since she was 2 months old.
Yes.
What was Harmony's date of birth?
6/7/14.
June 7th, 2014.
That's correct.
What kind of child was Harmony Montgomery?
She was a loving child. She was very sweet, very happy. She was super social. She loved to be with people. We used to joke around with her to leave a sparkle wherever she went, because wherever she went, she left people happy, and you knew that you met her.
How long was Harmony in your care for?
So which time? We took care of Harmony 3 times. She came back into care 3 times. So for the first time, she was with us for about 2 months. Then she returned to her mother, and then she returned to us. And then she stayed with us for about a little over 2.5 years. And then she went back with her mother, and then came back 10 months later.
You mentioned these disabilities.
Yes.
Was Harmony developmentally delayed?
She was not. It definitely could have been a possibility. She started off with that original diagnosis, and going through testing, she had a neurologist, endocrinologist, ophthalmologist, and we had a whole team of specialists that worked with her, and they changed the diagnosis to septo-optic dysplasia.
And were you taking any steps when she was in your care to treat her needs?
Yeah, absolutely. Harmony had, like I said, a team of doctors, but she also had early intervention workers. So she had 2. She had a nurse that came weekly, and she had a vision specialist that came weekly, and we did all the treatments and the programs that she needed with that.
Was she meeting benchmarks at that time?
She was meeting every benchmark. She was succeeding. Yeah.
Ms. Rafferty, when was the last time you saw Harmony Montgomery?
The last time I saw Harmony was December of 2018.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
I'm just going to say that it's a good thing I wasn't in that chat, Haley, because I probably would have lit them up. Because it's important to understand that all the beautiful pictures, all the happy pictures that you see of Harmony was not when she was with Adam. This lady loved her. And she's actually stayed out of the limelight and has requested her privacy. That's why a lot of us that have covered Harmony's case, we don't. One girl I did have contact with that I no longer have contact with for personal reasons. She actually got some really cute footage, pictures that have never been made public of Harmony.
So, Your Honor, I'm showing the witness what's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit 97. Ms. Rafferty, do you recognize this?
I do.
I'm going to get close to a microphone so I can pick up. What is this?
That's the day that they were doing school pictures, and she wanted to have a sparkly blue dress.
And do you recognize the person that's depicted in this picture?
Yes.
Who is it?
It's Harmony Montgomery.
Is this a fair and accurate representation of Harmony as you remember her?
Yes.
Your Honor, this one I move to admit as State's Exhibit 97.
All right, the ID is stricken. It's entered as a full exhibit.
I move to publish this
You
one.
may
Your Honor.
publish it.
Mrs. Rafferty, do you know someone named Adam Montgomery?
I do. Yes.
How do you know him?
He was Harmony's biological father.
Would you recognize the defendant if you saw him again?
Absolutely.
Your Honor, may I approach you?
Yes, you may.
Showing the defense what's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit 101.
Yes, ma'am. A lot of the really pretty pictures This is the lady that
Ms.
took
Rafferty,
care of
Yes.
her.
Do you recognize this item?
Yes,
Can you tell me what it is?
it's Adam Montgomery.
And Your Honor, at this point, sorry, is this
It's
a
a
fair
picture,
Is
yes.
this a fair and accurate representation of Adam Montgomery as you remember him?
Yes.
I move to Marcus Full, Your Honor, to strike ID and Marcus Full States Exhibit 101.
Any objection?
No objection, and we agree that that is a photo of the event.
Okay, thank you. The ID is stricken. It's entered as a full exhibit.
And I move to publish it at this
You may
point.
publish it.
Ms. Rafferty, was
I'm sorry, Attorney Knowles, would you return the exhibits back to the table when you're done with them, just so that everything remains there unless you're going to use it shortly
Absolutely.
again? Thank you.
I agree, Dandy. It's probably a good thing I do work all day and I'm
Ms.
not
Rafferty,
seeing
was
ignorant
Harmony
comments.
potty trained when she was in your care?
Yes, she was. She started at our house
It
and
has
then
to
she
be
finished
hard.
when she moved back with her mother.
And how old would she have been at that point in her life?
So at 2.5, going on 3, she was potty trained.
What steps did you take to, you said she started at your house. What
Yeah.
steps did you take to potty train her?
Harmony was very easy to potty train. She didn't like to have, soiled clothes on, and she wanted to be like the bigger kids that were in our house. So she would tell us that it was pretty much Harmony potty trained herself.
You mentioned her mother. Do you know
Yes.
her name?
Yes,
Can you tell the jurors?
yes, it's Crystal Sorey.
And you said that Crystal Sorey finished her potty training.
Yes,
Did Harmony return to your care after that?
she did. Yes,
And after Harmony returned to your care, did she have any bathroom accidents?
absolutely not.
If I could have just a moment, Your Honor. Ms. Rafferty, I don't have any additional questions for you. The defense attorney may.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning,
Good morning.
and I know this is difficult, and I won't be long, okay?
I do know the Millers. The gentlemen that have Jamison tried to adopt Harmony.
Your microphone, and try to figure out the other podium if you want to do that, but we might as well set it up.
I'll just take it over for now. I only have
Yeah, that's fine. If you want to start there.
I've been pronouncing your name all this time wrong. Rafferty,
It's Raftery, yes.
and quite a birthday you have too.
That's right.
Yeah. So you said that you had Harmony placed with you 3 times.
Yes,
In between, she was with her mother,
yes,
and then she would be returned to you.
yes.
And how long was the most recent time that? How long was she with you the last time she was placed with you?
About 10 months.
Okay. And from being placed with you for about 10 months, she went to another foster care,
Yes,
and you felt like she had more needs than you could deliver, so she went to a therapeutic foster care.
no,
Ms. Kumba? That's not?
I don't know that other foster parent.
Ah, okay. So she didn't go to therapeutic foster
She
care?
went to another foster home.
Okay. Not a therapeutic one?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Had you asked that she be placed in a therapeutic foster home?
No,
Okay. She left your home for another foster home for what reason?
it's a long story. Co-parenting a child that has trauma, first of all, is very difficult. Co-parenting a trauma with DCF involvement and co-parenting with them is extremely difficult.
Okay. So Harmony was placed with you 3 times, and that last time she was then placed to a therapeutic foster home.
She was placed in another foster home, yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. I
Yep.
did speak. She went to another foster home.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Your Honor, no further questions for this witness. I'd ask that she be excused.
Any objection? All right. You may step down and
Thank
you are
you.
excused.
Sadly, Doxy, you're right. She was a paycheck to them. She was food stamps to them. You know, she horrible how she was treated. Absolutely horrible how she was treated. And so many of us would have given this beautiful baby a home and, you know, so much attention and so much love. But her monster got her back because a judge felt that reunification was what needed to happen. Okay, I'm gonna see here. I don't want to skip past a bunch of stuff. Okay, here we go. Okay. All right, guys. Exactly, and supported their drug habit.
Sorry, if you could just remain standing for me.
Sure.
If you would please go ahead and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to this jury that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do.
Thank you, Ms. Sorey. Please feel free to have a seat. Ms. Sorey, since we're being recorded here today, and there's a microphone right in front of you, so I will ask you to please keep your voice up to make sure that the recording picks you up. Would you please state your full name and spell both your first and your last name?
My name is Crystal Renee Sorey, CrystalSorey.
And Ms. Sorey, what town do you live in?
I live in Fitchburg, Massachusetts.
How long have you lived there?
A year and 5 months.
And how far did you go in school?
I didn't graduate high school.
I'd like to ask you about a specific day, June 7th, 2014. What significance, if any, does that day have for you?
It was the day my daughter Harmony was born.
And Harmony was a girl, correct?
Yes.
Have you had any other daughters besides Harmony?
No.
And what was her full name?
Harmony Renee Montgomery.
Same middle name as you.
Yes.
What was her medical condition when she was born?
She was blind in her right eye. She was misdiagnosed twice before that. Yeah, just blind in her right eye.
And after about 3 months after she was born, who did she go to live with?
Michelle Rafferty.
And do you know Michelle?
Very well.
Why did she go to live with Michelle?
I am a recovering drug addict. I was struggling at the time, handling her diagnosis. I was struggling.
Is it fair to say that who you are now in 2024 is different than who you were in 2014?
Very.
In March of 2016, were you able to obtain custody of Harmony again?
Yes.
Okay. Where did the two of you live?
First, when she reunified, I was at Casa Esperanza in Roxbury. It was a reunification program, but you could only progress so much there. So then we moved to Ruth Kelly Umi's house on the other side of Roxbury, Dorchester.
Okay. When the two of you were living together, how was Harmony?
Amazing, rambunctious, very smart. By the time she was 2, she could tell you her whole life story.
She was talkative?
Yes. People didn't believe she was 2.
When you got custody and were reunified with Harmony in those two places, did you work and finish potty training with Harmony?
Yes.
Okay. And how did she take to that?
She did very well, honestly. I was kind of surprised. She was just really excited to be a big sister. Her brother had diapers, and I told her, babies wear diapers, and you're not a baby anymore, you're a big sissy. So she was right on it, and she did so well.
In September and then October, I know you were reunified in March of 2016. In September and October of 2018, did she go to live again with Michelle Rafter?
Yes.
And when she left then, that would be the fall of 2018. How old was she?
2018. 3. I believe 3, almost 4.
Yeah, basis?
It's leading in with, I think it is.
Your Honor, I believe the question was, how old was she in the fall of 2018?
Predictions overruled.
Thank you. So she was born in 2014, is that correct?
She was 4. Yes.
Okay, so she was 4 in 18.
Yes.
And was she fully potty trained when she left you?
Yes.
I'm going to ask you, who was Harmony's birth father?
Adam Montgomery.
And how did you meet him?
Through a mutual friend.
Was he living with you when Harmony was born?
No.
Were the two of you living together when Harmony went to live with the Raftertys?
Never.
Did you ever have any other children with Adam Montgomery?
No.
At some point in 2019, who got custody of Harmony?
Adam.
Where was Adam living at the time?
Manchester, New Hampshire.
Do you remember what street he was living on?
Guilford Street.
And is that where Harmony was as well?
Yes.
What, if any, visits did you have with Harmony after she went to live with Adam Montgomery?
I had 2 physical visits with her. And then I had 2 FaceTime calls, both very brief.
The physical visits, where did you visit her?
Excuse me. Guilford Street.
Did you visit with her outside the home or inside the home?
Inside the home.
Inside the home. Did you see where her room was?
No. He never showed me.
When you say he, who is he?
Adam never showed me. I was only allowed in the living room or the bathroom.
How did you communicate with Adam at that time?
Facebook.
Facebook?
Yeah, he wouldn't give me his number.
When did you last see Harmony?
April
April of
2019.
April of 2019.
Yeah, right before Easter.
How did you see her?
Oh, I was doing a Facebook video call. That was how I had job training, so I couldn't do a physical visit that week because I didn't know my schedule.
You said that was before Easter, is that correct?
Yes.
Did you see her on Easter?
Yes.
Were you able to see her after that?
No.
What did you try to do to be able to see her or talk to her after that?
I just kept reaching out to Adam and Kayla and, asking, begging them to let me see her. And I was sorry for whatever I did. I wasn't even sure what I did. But I was just trying to reach out to really anybody at that point, his family, his grandmother, his uncle, his dad, anybody.
Let me ask, in June.
Yes.
What about in July?
I believe so.
Did you receive any phone call from Kevin Montgomery, Adam's uncle, in July? But after that call, did you continue these efforts you talked about before, trying to get in touch with Adam?
Yes.
And what about September of 2019? Were you trying to get in touch with Adam? Adam and Harmony.
Yes, I had made a new Facebook hoping, because he had blocked me and so did Kayla, I was hoping to get through to him that way.
Did you try also through to 2021?
Yes.
By December of 2021, what else were you doing to try to find Harmony?
I was
to respond.
I was, calling DCF. I was, telling my therapist, talking to anybody that I knew who was either a mandated reporter or had some type of leverage because.
Manchester Police Department.
I'm sorry.
Yep. In December of 2021, did you meet with the Manchester Police Department about trying to find Harmony?
Yes.
And with regards to that, did you provide them with any permissions to try to get more information to help find Harmony?
I signed whatever they needed me to sign.
Did any of that include medical authorizations for medical records?
Yes.
Did you provide a DNA swab for them?
Twice.
Did you provide permission for them to look at your Facebook account?
Yes.
Did you provide permission for them to find out where you had been living and contact those places to confirm your dates there?
Yes.
So I'm going to show you the Mark Stacy's of it.
Oh, that's right. That's all. Thank you.
Do you recognize this person?
Yes. Adam Montgomery.
This is the person that you were trying to get hold of.
Yes.
Show now. It's exhibit 97. What's this?
That's me, girl. That's Harmony.
In fall of 2018, which we met, right? You know that she was going to school. Taking classes.
When she was with Michelle, she was, but not after.
Not after.
No.
Can you explain what you mean by that?
When she went with Adam, she never went to school.
Sorry, Your Honor. Flick your plug.
Sorry, guys. Hopefully it's not lagging real bad. I apologize. I know my signal's lagging. Thank you, FARQ. I appreciate you, honey. The link that I dropped is an affidavit of his charges. I also have a couple police reports. Booted myself from the stream again. I apologize. I don't know what's going on. My camera is horrible. Let me pull this back up. My signal all of a sudden just started to do its own thing. So I apologize. Hopefully it will tighten up.
Well, clarify, I'm sorry, the last time that you saw her, I believe your testimony for was April of 2019.
Yes.
So it was not around Thanksgiving time of 2019.
No.
Thank you. I have no further questions for you, Sorry. I believe defense counsel will have a few.
I believe it was around Easter, y'all, is what's been said. And the comment.
Because again, I only have a couple of questions. And it sounds like Harmony was a lovely child and a joy. Is that right?
Yes.
And you described on direct her getting potty trained and you comparing her to her brother.
Yeah.
Your son.
Yes.
And I think she loved being a big sister to her brother, your son.
Yes.
Right. And you described how old Harmony was in September of 2018, I think. Harmony was not living with you at that time. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. Thank you.
You may sit down. Just be very careful of the water.
Okay, so that was Crystal's testimony. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop a bunch of stuff in the description on the video. Hopefully. It's going to be a brief break, and then we'll have another witness come up. So thank you guys for all being here. I appreciate it. I really, really do. Be here for the replay of this horrible trial. And I'm going to bump this up a little bit. They're going to have a sidebar, I believe. Here we go.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you give this jury will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Yes.
Thank you. Please feel free to have a seat. Ms. Travers, let me just ask you, since we're being recorded here today, would you please state your full name and spell both your first name or the initials you go by and your last name for the record?
Sure. My first name is DD, just spelled as DD. Last name is Travers, TRAV as in Victor, ERS.
And Ms. Travers, do you live in the state of New Hampshire?
Yes, I do.
How long have you lived here?
Approximately 20 years.
20 years. And currently, where do you work?
I work for a Catholic Medical Center in Manchester.
What do you do for them?
Currently, I work as a nurse practitioner.
And how long have you been working as a nurse practitioner for them?
I've been working about 5 years as a nurse practitioner.
And prior to that, were you also working for CMC in a different capacity?
Yes. I was working as a registered nurse.
Let me ask you, at any point were you assigned to work at the affiliate for Catholic Medical Center, the Urgent Care in Bedford?
Yes.
And I'd like to direct your attention specifically to June 2nd of 2019. Did you take vital signs from a child named Harmony Montgomery that day?
Yes.
And as part of those vital signs, did you measure and record her weight?
Yes.
How much did Harmony Montgomery, the patient that you saw that day, weigh when you saw her on June 2nd of 2019?
I don't recall the actual number.
Let me ask, with regards to those, when you measured her weight, did you record that information somewhere?
I would record it in the electronic health records.
Okay. And with regards to the electronic health record, when do you record that? So,
Generally, it's done in the room with the patient.
so right then and there, while you're with the patient, you're recording that?
Yeah.
Okay. And if you had a chance to look at those records, do you think that looking at those records might help refresh your recollection as to what the weight was that you took on that day?
If I could look again, I could remember the number. Yeah, that'd be great.
Approach page 4822. Do you recognize that to include the medical records that you entered that day?
Yep, it has my name right there.
Okay. And I'm about to say, I'm going to have you go ahead and take a look at it for a moment. And when you're ready, just look back at me. I'm going to ask you what her weight was.
Okay.
And does that, looking at that, does that help refresh your recollection of the weight?
Yes.
And how much did Harmony Montgomery weigh in June of 2019 when you measured her?
35.20.
35.20. And are those grams, those pounds?
I'm sorry, I didn't look at that. I apologize.
That's all right. I'm sorry. The 35.20, is that pounds? 35 pounds? Or 35.20 pounds, I should say?
I didn't actually see that it said pounds on there, but
Okay. Let me ask, do you typically, when you do your measurements, are they in pounds or are they in kilograms?
they're usually in kilograms.
Usually in kilograms?
Mhm.
Okay. Well, I want to make sure that your memory is fresh. So with regards to the record, do you recall off the top of your head whether it was 35.2 kilograms or 35.2 pounds?
I don't recall.
Okay. And having a chance to look at the vital signs again, do you think that might refresh your recollection?
Sure.
Same page? And let's say, does that help? I see you nodding your head up and down. Does that help refresh?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so the 35.2 are those pounds or kilograms?
Pounds.
35.2 pounds. All right. Thank you very much, Nurse Travers. I greatly appreciate it. I don't have any further questions for you. I believe defense counsel may have a few.
And I think Harmony's weight was appropriate for her size and age.
Foundation.
Okay, I'm not sure how much of a break is here. So I did drop a partial timeline. I dropped the 101 page document. I dropped Adam's, some of his information in the description on the video. I'm sorry, guys. Usually I'm a lot more than this. I should have had all this ready for you guys. I also have a bunch of links that I can drop into chat. And then if you haven't seen my map story for Harmony, I'm going to drop that as well in chat. Make sure that you do go check that out. It has some good information and pin drops of a lot of what we're hearing today, this evening. I don't want to bump this up too much because, let's see, I don't want to miss anything because I didn't watch it today, so I don't know what all was said or if there was lots of breaks or what's going on. So again, I appreciate you guys for being here. I definitely do. It means the world to me to have my community here. Okay, so here's my map story. I'm going to drop that in chat. For anybody that's new to the channel or lurking in the bushes, thank you for so we can get the live out into the
Just
algorithm.
a couple of more questions. Did you stay in the room until the doctor came in to look at Harmony?
No.
Okay, so you just pretty much take that information and give it to the doctor for the doctor to do the examination?
That's correct.
Okay, and you don't know the results of the examination, is that right?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Any objections or the excuse?
May I ask one more
Okay.
question, Your Honor?
Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry. But one of the observations that you did make was the sores around her mouth?
That's what I wrote in the report, yes.
Okay, and that was a rash or sores around her mouth that she was present for, right?
Yeah, that's what I wrote in the report, yeah.
Thank you.
Any objections or the, oh, do you have any follow-up questions from that? Yeah.
I'll probably use Streamlabs tomorrow. The only thing about Streamlabs is I can't pull comments up on the screen. I don't think I might be able to. But I do want to be able to have Harmony's picture. And with Streamlabs, I can split the screens.
State may call its next witness.
Okay, looks like the next witness is coming up. And guys, normally I'm on camera, but I just got off work and my hair is a freaking mess. And I don't even have my light on with my background or anything going tonight. But I am normally on camera. I'm a camera creator. I work all day and my brain's frazzled and it shows in the hair. So I'm not fully on camera and I am a smoker, so I don't smoke on camera either. And this is something that weighs heavily on my heart, so I'm chain smoking over here.
Remain standing for just a moment.
Thank you.
And this is
Mr. Montgomery, if you would please go ahead and raise your right
Kevin.
hand. you solemnly swear that the testimony that you will give this jury will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Please feel free to have a seat. Mr. Montgomery, as we are being recorded here for the record, could you please go ahead? And I'm going to ask you to please go ahead and state your name, both your first and your last name.
Hang on one second. Could you carefully open that? Otherwise it sort of the top can open. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. If you please go ahead and state your full name and spell out both your first and your last name for the record.
Kevin Lester Montgomery, Kevin Montgomery.
And Mr. Montgomery, what town are you living in now?
Malden, Mass.
How long have you lived down there?
I've been back in the area since June
June of this year?
last year.
June of last year.
23.
Of course. Sorry. And are you currently working?
I am.
What do you do for work?
I am a plumber.
And how far did you go in school?
10th grade.
How long have you been a plumber?
Roughly 3.5 years ish.
What are some of the other kind of jobs that you had before being a plumber?
Landscaping. I was in the drywall, union, roofing,
Okay.
stuff like that.
I'd like to ask, in 2019, where were you living at the first part of 2019?
2019, first part of 2019, I was living in Manchester,
And what was the street address that you were living at?
77 Guilford Street.
Who owned that home?
Excuse me?
Who owned that home? Sorry.
My mom and my ex.
And who else lived there? Let me ask, let's say in February or March of 2019, who else lived there?
So it was me, my nephew, his wife, and the kids.
And who's your nephew, sir?
Adam Montgomery,
And who was his wife at the time?
Kayla Montgomery.
I'm going to go ahead and show you states exhibits 1 and 2. And just see if, let's just talk about states exhibit 1 for a moment. Do you recognize states exhibit 1?
I do.
Okay. And what is that a photograph of?
The front of the house,
Which house?
77 Guilford Street.
And what about, and with regard to that photo, did the house look that way when you were living there in 2019? And by that, I just mean where the windows are, the door is, the color.
Yes.
Okay. And now I'd like to show you States Exhibit 2 for identification purposes only. Do you recognize what that is a photo of?
I do.
What's that a photo of?
That was Harmony's room.
Where was her room, inside this house or somewhere else? Did she live with you?
Yeah, her room was across from my room inside that house.
Other than the stickers that are at the bottom here, and the photograph itself of the room and the home, are these accurate to your memory of what that room used to look like and what this home used to look like generally when you were there?
Yes.
At this point, Your Honor, I'd ask for the identifications to be stricken from States Exhibit 1 and 2, please.
Objection. I'm sorry. No, without objection. Okay, the ID is stricken. They're entered as full exhibits.
So, Mr. Montgomery, go ahead. Permission.
Yes, you may.
Thank you. With regards to States Exhibit 1, this is 77 Guilford Street? Is that correct?
Yes.
And let me ask you, how many bedrooms were in the home? How big?
Living room on the first floor, 2 bedrooms in the back, and then like an attic that was like made over upstairs.
When you say made over upstairs, was that also used as a bedroom?
Correct.
And I'm showing States Exhibit 2. I believe you said before, let me try to get your testimony right, that this was Harmony's room. Is that correct?
Yes.
The stickers on the wall, do you know what that's a sticker of?
Yes, that was a Minnie Mouse.
Montgomery, excuse me. In 2019, you said, I believe before, you said that your nephew, Adam Montgomery, was living with you. Is that correct?
Could you speak up, please?
Yes, certainly. And let me move closer to the microphone. In 2019, I believe you testified a moment ago that you said Adam Montgomery was living with you, and he's your nephew. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. And so, nephew, in terms of, so who's his father? And I would assume his father or mother is a brother or sister to you.
So his dad's my older brother, Michael.
And with regards to Adam, how long have you known Adam?
His whole life.
Were you subpoenaed to be here today?
I was.
And let me ask you, do you want to be here today testifying about your nephew?
No.
When Adam came to live with you at Guilford Street, I believe you said before that he had kids with him and that he had his wife. Could you tell us what her name is?
Adam's wife?
Yes.
Kayla Montgomery.
And the kids that moved in with him there in 2019, who were they? Do you remember their names, I should say?
I do. Could you say that question again, please?
Certainly. So when Adam and Kayla came to live with you, you said that there were kids in the home before. What were their names?
So when Adam and Kayla came in, who came with them?
Yes, exactly.
At first it was just Seamus.
Okay. And who was Seamus?
Seamus is their son.
Okay. Who came to live with you next?
Okay, Haley, you're good.
believe,
Thank you for being here, hon.
So I believe a baby was born somewhere, and then Harmony.
And then Harmony. So Harmony was the last child to move in. We looked at a picture of Harmony's room. Where was that room in the house? Was it upstairs? Was it downstairs?
So it was downstairs at the end of the hallway on the right,
Okay. And where was your room in the home?
right across the hall.
Where did you see Harmony spend most of her time when she was in the house?
I should approach Judge.
Is the stream still running? Because my signal just all of a sudden just went wah wah. Hopefully you guys can. It looks like we're buffering now. I hate to speed this up, but he does look traumatized. This is kind of frustrating. It was working just fine, and now all of a sudden it's like not wanting to work. It's very frustrating. It's froze. Okay. I may hardwire in. Guys. All right, let's try this again. Again, I'm so sorry about this. Is it going to let me pull it back up? Thank you for everybody that's hanging in there.
Saying I backed her around the fucking house.
My laptop keeps kicking me
I
out.
think just Adam.
How did Adam say this?
How did he say it?
Yes. Well, let's put it this way. Can you say it the way that he said it so that we understand?
I'm not sure if I had to describe it to the best of my ability to be like a cocky son of a bitch.
Did Adam tell you why he bashed her around the house and caused the black eye?
He did.
What did he say?
He said he was in the bathroom moving his bowels and that he put Harmony in charge to watch Declan. And when he came out, Harmony had her hands over his mouth. And I guess his lips were supposedly below. That's what was explained.
That's what Adam explained to you?
Correct.
And after he explained that, how did he say he caused the black eye?
I bashed her around the fucking house.
Was there anybody else in the kitchen when Adam said this to you?
Just the three of us.
Just you, Adam, and Harmony. Let me ask you, did you stay at your house that night?
I did.
What about the night after that?
I left the following morning.
Did you ever stay in the house after that? Overnight?
I did not.
When you heard this from Adam, who did you tell about what Adam told you and seeing the black eye? Who did you tell?
You want names?
Yes, please.
Told my mom. Told my son's mother, Christina. Told my sister, Erin. My brothers, Sean, Michael, and Richard. I told one of Adam's friends, Nick and Aaron. I told Harmony's mom, Crystal. I told Harmony's foster mom, Michelle. I think I told my sister, Janine. My mother, Helen. That's kind of what I remember. Could you just repeat the question again?
That's all right. I believe you answered the question.
Okay.
Let me ask, did you also make any calls to the what's called DCYF, or the Division of Children, Youth, and Families?
I did.
And the Nicholas and the Aaron that you referred to, is that Nicholas the same person as Nicholas Ahern? Aaron the same person as Aaron Rue?
Yes.
Why did you tell all these people? Why did you call DCYF about this?
Say that again?
Yes. Why did you tell all of these people?
To get help.
Help for who?
For Harmony.
Did you ever see Harmony after that day?
I did.
When did you see her? And by when, I mean what time of year?
What time of year?
Yes.
So I did see on Frankie's earlier that they have a lot of sidebars during his testimony. And again, I apologize for my wonky signal. How did you welcome in? Thank you for coming in. You're good, Haley. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I really, really do. Let's see, FarQ says, really shows his character when he can't even turn up to his own daughter's unaliving trial, and he was the one who unalived her weak POS monster. Facts. Everybody welcoming in Juju Bones. Thank you for being here, hun. We're trial replaying, hanging out here.
Mr. Montgomery, did you, and let me change my questions a little bit for a minute here. Did you see Harmony again in September of 2019?
I believe so.
Okay. And let me ask, on when you did see her, was it at 77 Guilford Street?
Yes.
And was that before Adam was evicted from the home?
Yes.
Did you see Harmony after they were evicted from the home?
No.
Mr. Montgomery, I'm going to go ahead and show you State's Exhibit 101. Do you recognize this person?
Yes.
Who is this?
That's my nephew, Adam Montgomery.
After Adam told you about the cause of Harmony's black eye, did you have any further conversations with him about that incident?
I did.
And what did he say to you in that later conversation about this black eye incident?
What did he say to me in the later conversation about the black eye?
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure what you exactly mean.
I'm about to say, let me back up and I'll clarify. Attorneys need to ask very clear questions. So you've described for this jury about seeing Harmony's black eye and Adam telling you that he bashed her all around the fucking house. Did you talk with Adam about that black eye at a different time, at a later time?
I did. Can I explain?
So if we could approach for a minute, Your Honor.
Another sidebar.
You said that he made a comment and sounded cocky?
Yes.
Also could have been sarcasm?
Not in my opinion, if that's what you're asking.
But he did express concern regarding Declan and the blue lips.
Yes.
You later made a report to DCYF.
Yes.
That report was approximately a week later.
Correct.
Would July 29th of 2022, I'm sorry, July 29th of 2019, would that sound correct to you?
Roughly about a weekish later, 7-8 days or something. Is that what? Yeah, approximate, I guess. It's going back a while.
Roughly 7 to 8 days, and this was after you had returned to Florida?
After I was back in
sorry,
New Hampshire, right? Is that what you're asking? After I came home?
Right. But
Yes.
You didn't go back to you didn't stay at the house except for that one night. Did you go back to Florida or did you go back to Massachusetts?
No, I went to Massachusetts.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Montgomery. I don't have anything further.
Just briefly, please, Your Honor. Mr. Montgomery, about that. You just asked a moment ago whether you were asked a moment ago with regards to Adam. You were asked a moment by Attorney Brooks about him sounding cocky and whether that might also be some sort of sarcasm. When he said, I bashed her all around the fucking house, did that sound like sarcasm to you?
No.
And when you asked Harmony, oh my God, what the fuck happened to you? Were you asking about her eye?
I did. I was.
At any point, did the defendant tell you that he had just jerked her away from Declan?
No.
And at any point when you were asked a moment ago on cross-examination about Declan's lips being blue, I want to make sure that's clear. That's not something that you saw, right? That's what the defendant told you had happened.
Yes, correct. That's what I was told.
From the defendant, that's what he says.
Correct.
Let me ask one last question with regards to your understanding. When Adam said that he bashed him all around the fucking house, do you feel that you have somehow conflated what Adam had said?
Conflated? Could you explain, please?
Confused one action for another? Do you think that Adam, when he
Say
said
that-
about, yes,
Say it again,
so let me
please.
restate that. With regards to confusing one issue for another, or conflated what Adam had said, with regards to that, do you feel that you may have been mistaken that when he said that he bashed her all around the fucking house with regards to the black eye, that he was actually talking about just jerking her away from Declan?
I wasn't confused.
Thank you. No further questions.
Nothing further. All right, you may step down.
Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is just a little past 12:30, so this is a perfect time to break for lunch. I will remind you that you are not to discuss this case, not with each other or with anybody else. While I've indicated to you that you can check your phones on a break or during lunch, you cannot read any media. Make sure all your banners or notifications are turned off. You are not to view any media related to this case. Don't do any independent research. Don't look up any of the names that you've heard throughout this case. And I'll have you come back at 1:30 and we will resume evidence at that time. Please rise for the jurors, everyone.
Okay, we're going to skip through to the next witness.
We'll be here soon. Please be seated. State may call its next witness.
The state calls Pg.
I do.
You can have a seat, make yourself comfortable. And there's a microphone right in front of you. Just make sure that you're talking into that. Can you start by stating and spelling your full name for the record?
Katie, Katie, Morin, Morin.
And what's your date of birth, Ms. Morin?
6/10/78.
What city and state do you currently reside in?
Laconia, New Hampshire.
And how long have you lived in Laconia?
About 3 years.
How are you presently employed
I work in retail.
in retail? And how long have you done that? How long have you worked in retail?
My whole life, about 20 years, probably.
And what's your highest level of education, Ms. Morin?
GED.
Do you know someone named Adam Montgomery?
Yes, I do.
And can you tell these jurors how you know Adam Montgomery?
We were in a rehab facility together, and then we became romantically involved for a little bit.
What year would that have been in that you were romantically involved with the defendant, Adam Montgomery?
2021.
And Your Honor, may I?
Yes.
Your Honor, showing the witness what's been published as State's Exhibit 101. Ms. Moore, do you recognize
Yes, I do.
the individuals?
Yes, I do.
And who is that individual?
It's Adam Montgomery.
That was the individual that you were romantically involved with in 2021?
Yes,
Were you aware of whether or not the defendant was married at that time?
I was.
And did he ever tell you anything about his wife?
Not just that they hadn't seen each other in a while.
Do you remember providing a statement to an officer with the Manchester Police Department back in February of 2022?
I do.
And that statement was regarding the defendant, is that right?
It was.
Do you think that seeing that statement would refresh your recollection of what the defendant may have said to you about his spouse, about his wife?
No, I recall
Okay. And what do you recall him saying about his wife?
that she would do anything for him.
That she would do anything for him? During the time that you were romantically involved with the defendant, did he ever discuss his children?
He did.
So you were aware that he had children?
I was.
Was there a particular discussion with the defendant that stood out to you about
Yes.
the children?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
We were at lunch one day and just talking about our children in general. And he stated that the worst thing that had ever happened or he had done was he walked out of the bathroom and Harmony was suffocating the baby. So he backhanded her I don't know if it was as a reaction is the way it was told to me, to stop her from suffocating.
So he said he backhanded her.
Yes.
Did he say what the result of that backhand was?
He said he hit her glasses, so she ended up with a black eye.
Did he describe anything about that black eye that you just mentioned?
No.
In that conversation where he discussed causing that black eye, did he say that he had nudged Harmony out of the way?
I don't recall.
He said he backhanded her.
I don't recall his exact verbiage.
Did you ever discuss other children with you?
Yes.
And what were those discussions? What was the substance of those discussions?
He told me that he had 5 children, all under the age of 7. They all had the same mom. At one point, I asked him to go to Maine with me when I was leaving, and he said he would be too far away from his kids, so he couldn't.
If I could have just a moment. Thank you, Ms. Warren. No additional questions.
No questions, Your Honor.
You may sit down.
Thank you.
Statement closed. Next witness.
Your Honor, the state calls Nicholas Ahern.
Okay, next witness.
Mr. Ahern, please remain standing. Raise your right hand. You swear that the testimony that you're going to provide this jury will be the truth and the whole truth and the things and penalties of perjury.
Yes.
You can have a seat. Make yourself comfortable. Mr. Ahern, can you start by stating and spelling your full name for the record?
Yes, it's Nicholas Ahern, Nicholas. Ahern, Ahern.
Thank you. And Mr. Ahern, what city and state do you live in?
Manchester, New Hampshire.
How long have you lived in Manchester?
My entire life.
How old are you?
34.
Mr. Ahern, what do you do for a living?
I do construction, metal framing, drywall.
Framing and drywall?
Yep.
How long have you done that?
Since I was like 20.
It's 14 years?
Yeah, a long time.
What's the highest level of education you've obtained?
I think it was 11th grade.
And did you get your GED?
No, I went right into the trade.
Do you know someone named Adam Montgomery, Mr. Ahern?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Mr. Ahern, I'm showing you what's been published as State's Exhibit 101.
Yes.
Do you recognize that individual?
Yes, that's Adam Montgomery.
And how long have you known Mr. Montgomery?
I want to say since I was like 18. So, yeah, a long time.
Are you aware of him having any children?
Yeah, I know he has a couple.
Are you aware of a daughter?
Yes.
Have you ever seen his daughter?
Yes, once.
Do you know her name?
Harmony.
What can you tell us about that one time that you saw Harmony?
She came out of the house and she had marks on her face, which was a black eye.
Okay, and so let's unpack that a little bit. When you say she came out of the house, what house did she come out of?
I think it was Guilford Street. Yeah.
Is that the house that she lived in? Was that your understanding?
Yes, that's where they lived.
So were you visiting the defendant when you saw Harmony?
Yes.
And what were you doing when Harmony came out of the house?
Just sitting out front talking to Adam.
What time of year was this?
Summertime, I want to say around July.
Do you remember what year?
I think it was 2019.
And let's talk about that injury that you saw. What can you tell the jury about it?
It was a pretty severe injury. At the time, I questioned Adam, what happened, and he told me that she acquired it during a soccer accident. Yeah.
When you say severe injury, what did you see? Can you explain to this jury what made it severe?
Her eyes were blackened. Yeah, it was pretty intense in the moment. Yeah.
Was it concerning to you?
It was, but he told me that she acquired it during a soccer accident. I have kids, so I understand, accidents happen. So.
Do you know someone named Kevin Montgomery?
Yes.
At some point after you saw that injury to Harmony, did you have a conversation with Kevin?
Yes, he contacted me.
And I'm not asking you for the substance, just whether or not.
Yes.
And you said he contacted you, is that right?
Yes.
When Harmony came out of the house, about how long did you see her for?
Maybe 4 seconds. It was quick.
Why was it quick?
Because he told her to go back inside.
And sorry, when you say he told her to go back inside.
Sorry, Adam Montgomery told her to go back inside.
Can you tell the jury how he told her to get back inside?
He was Adam was forcive. He just basically told her to go in, and he kind of walked her up to the door and shut it.
About how old was Harmony when you saw her that day?
I want to say maybe 5, something like that. 5.
How would you describe her when you saw her come out for those 4 seconds?
She was just standing there, just looking. No real body movement, just standing there.
And when the defendant forcefully told her to go back inside, did she obey?
Yes.
If I could have just a moment.
Yes.
Is there no additional questions, Your Honor?
Counsel,
No questions, Your Honor.
you may step down.
And we'd ask that this witness be excused, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No.
You may be excused.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would call Deputy Sheriff Paul Montgomery. Sorry, just a little. Sorry, Your Honor, would you like me to just check the hallway?
Sure.
I'll say, Your Honor. Deputy Sheriff Paul Montgomery.
Go through the wires, please.
If you just please remain standing when you get there for a brief moment. Thank you. Please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear that the testimony that you will give this jury will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you, sir. Please feel free to have a seat. And Deputy, as we're being recorded here today for the record, would you please go ahead, state your full name and spell both your first and your last name for us?
Paul Montgomery, Paul-Montgomery.
Okay. And I bet I already know the answer, but where are you currently employed, sir?
Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office.
Okay. How long have you worked for them?
7 years.
7 years so far. Okay. And with regards to your employment with them, did you ever work in any other sort of law enforcement before working for the sheriff's office?
I started in New York City in 1985, NYPD,
Whereabouts in the city?
Lower Manhattan and Brooklyn.
Okay. How long were you there?
5 years.
5 years. Okay. And after that, any other sort of law enforcement
Town of
experience?
Henniker for 5 years.
Okay.
Merrimack County Sheriff's Office for 20. State for 2. And now I'm here part-time.
And when you say state for 2, what agency did you work for those 2 years?
Patrol DMV.
Okay. And what were some of your day-to-day duties for them?
We basically dealt with trucks and inspection stations.
All right. So with regards to your duties now for the Hillsborough County Sheriff's, you said you're working for them part-time, is that correct?
Yes.
All right. So what are your day-to-day duties? What do they look like?
Primarily transporting prisoners to and from the jail and the prison.
Okay.
To the courts.
And let me ask you, do you ever, when did you come back to do part-time again?
2019.
2019. Okay. I want to specifically draw your attention to November 27th of 2019. And on that particular day, I'd like to ask.
2017. Sorry.
2017 is when you came back.
Yes,
okay. That's all right. Let me be specific though. Let me steer you to one day in 2019, just before Thanksgiving, November 27th, 2019. Did you help serve or were you present for an eviction notice at 77 Guilford Street in Manchester that day?
I was.
Okay. And I wonder if you could explain a little bit for the jurors, just for an eviction process, what is the role of the deputy sheriff? What are you there to do?
So we have a court order that's evicting whoever's there on the premises. I was a second deputy. I'm assisting the primary deputy. Usually we send 2 guys. And for some reason, I don't know what, his partner was tied up with something else, so they sent me over. And I just assisted with posting the property and having the people leave.
And typically, how long does this process take to do an eviction? Just typically in your experience, I mean.
We usually give them 10 to 15 minutes to get some belongings and skedaddle.
Okay. And on this particular one at Guilford Street, do you have any recollection of roughly how long that took?
Probably 10 to 15 minutes, doing every time.
Was there anything about that eviction that necessarily stands out to you, or was it just a very typical eviction for you?
Pretty much the same as all others. There were a lot of clothes around. It was kind of dirty. And there were a couple children there. And there was a male and a female.
Okay. And when you say a male and female, and you say male, female, and children, so the male and female, are they both adults?
Adults, yes.
Okay. And then the children, do you remember how many there were?
I couldn't tell you for sure.
Okay.
There were a couple. I would say at least 2, but I can't tell you if there was any more than that.
Okay. Where did they go at the end of the eviction?
They got into their vehicle and they left.
Okay. And with regards to the home, what happens to home when an eviction takes place?
So we post it with no trespass stickers.
Mhm.
And usually the landlord will come and change the locks.
Okay.
I don't recall if there was a landlord there that day. Sometimes they don't show up and we just post it.
And I just want to make sure that I understand on this particular one. I believe you said before when you're doing evictions, it's based upon an order from the court. Is that right? All right. Do you have a copy of that order when you go to do the eviction?
We do. Okay. I did not personally have that. That would be my partner that had the paperwork.
is that a routine practice of being a of the? Let me try this in English. Is that a routine practice of the sheriff's office to make sure that a copy of that order is in hand before the eviction is done?
In our hand, yes.
In your hand.
Yes.
Okay. And do you have any reason to believe that's not what happened that day?
Not at all.
Just a moment, please, Ron. Thank you very much, Deputy. I don't have any further questions for you. Defense counsel may have come.
Okay.
No questions. Thank you.
All right. Let me sit down.
Thank you, Ron.
Statement calls next witness. Yes.
And Mr. Sorey, you remain standing. Raise your right hand. You swear that the testimony you hear about providing the truth and the whole truth and the pains and penalties of perjury.
I do.
You can make yourself comfortable. Can you start by providing, by stating and spelling your full name for the record?
Yes. My name is Demetrius Tsaros. First name is Demetrios. Last name is Tsaros.
And Mr. Soros, I'm just going to ask that you speak as loud as you can.
Yeah, thank you. I will.
Mr. Soros, what city do you live in?
I live in Concord, New Hampshire. I apologize. I just moved. Pembroke, New Hampshire.
How long have you been a New Hampshire resident?
All my life.
And what do you currently do for a living?
I am a career level letter carrier for the Postal Service.
The U.S. Postal Service?
Yes. Yes.
And how long have you worked in that capacity?
Since September of 2021.
Prior to September 2021, how were you employed?
I was employed as a CPSW, a Child Protective Service Worker with the state of New Hampshire for DCYF.
And that acronym that you just gave, CPSW, can you tell the jurors what that means?
Yes, Child Protective Service Worker.
How long did you work for DCYF?
Approximately 10 years.
And in your capacity as a caseworker for DCYF, did you have occasion to interact with someone named Adam Montgomery?
I did.
And calling your attention specifically to 2019, the summer of 2019, did you receive a report regarding Adam Montgomery?
I did.
Are you aware of whether or not he had children?
Not when I first received the report.
Was the report regarding one of his children?
Yes.
Which child was that?
Specifically, it was Harmony.
Harmony Montgomery.
I'm sorry, Harmony Montgomery.
And was that report regarding an injury to Harmony Montgomery?
Yes.
Do you know who made that initial report?
I do not. It was anonymous.
Do you remember specifically when that report was made?
It was July of 2019, towards the end of the month. Specifically, it was either the 19th or the 29th.
Would looking at your report refresh your recollection?
Yes. Yes, July 29th, 2019.
Did that refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Okay, so if you could just turn that over.
And sir, I'm just going to ask you to keep your voice up so all the jurors can hear you, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And can you tell us that date again? I missed it.
July 29th, 2019.
And what did you do after your involvement on that call began?
I apologize. Could you be more specific?
So you got a report. What did you do after you received that report?
When I received the report, I initiated trying to make contact with the family in order to see them, see the family, see the children, ascertain safety.
And is that generally what you do, or is that what you did in this specific case?
Generally, that was the standard practice.
In this specific case, though, what did you do?
Specifically, tried to initiate contact. I ended up going out to the listed address in an effort to see the family.
Do you recall what that address was?
I believe it was 77 Guilford Street or Guilford Ave.
Tell us about that trip out to the 77 Guilford Street or Ave.
So I drove to the location, and as I pulled up the location, I noticed a person who I recognized as Adam Montgomery getting into a car.
And let me stop you there.
Yes.
Yes.
So, Mr. Soros, I'm going to show you what's been admitted and previously published as State's Exhibit 101.
Mhm.
You recognize the individual that's depicted there?
I do. That's Adam Montgomery.
So, when you said that you recognized the individual getting into a car, I believe
Yes,
that was this Adam Montgomery?
it was.
Was anyone else present with him as he was getting into that vehicle?
There was a young girl, small girl.
That interaction, your observation of the defendant, Adam Montgomery, and the small girl who was with him, how long was that?
Not very long. Basically, as I was pulling up and getting ready to park, they were getting into the vehicle, and I can't remember exactly how far away I was, 30, 40 feet or so, when I was parking my car, and I observed them getting into the vehicle.
So you're parking your vehicle. Were you outside of your vehicle when you saw him, or were you still inside?
I was still inside my vehicle.
And this young girl that you saw with the defendant, what was she doing?
Nothing really particular, just getting into the vehicle. Her father helping her into the vehicle. Excuse me, I didn't know if it was her father at the time. The person, Adam, helping her into the vehicle.
Specifically with respect to that small female that you saw, how long were you able to observe her for before she got into the vehicle?
Maybe 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Not a long period of time.
And this was from 30 to 40 feet away?
Correct.
I want to back up for just a moment. The child that you were going to see, it was a female, is that right?
Yes.
How long? I'm sorry, let me strike that. Were you able to clearly see the child when you were in your car there?
I guess as clearly as I could from that distance.
Did you observe anything about the child other than her gender?
No, just it literally just looked like a small child, a female, getting into a car with someone.
How long were they parked there for before they drove away?
Not long. She got into the car. He then got into the car, and they drove away.
And you said the distance already, but was this on a public road, or were they in a driveway or something else?
Public road. They were parked on the side of the road in front of the house that I was going to.
During that home visit, did you interact with a child named Harmony Montgomery?
No.
Why not?
Aside from seeing her at that home visit, because she had left. She was the little girl that got into the car.
Is that something that you learned that day or at a later time?
That day.
While you were at the home attempting to make contact with Harmony, was there anything that drew your attention away as you were approaching the home?
Anything that drew my attention away?
Yes.
Nothing in particular.
Do you recall?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Do you recall noting that there was a loud dog that was barking at you?
Yes, there was a loud dog, a large dog barking at me from the property.
And was that before or after the defendant drove away with this young female?
I believe it was after. It was after they left. I approached the property.
So you were unsuccessful in seeing Harmony Montgomery that day?
Correct.
Did you attempt to follow up with the defendant?
I did.
Tell us about those attempts.
Arrange a home visit in which I could actually come and see and speak with Harmony.
When were those attempts? You mentioned a phone call. When was that phone call?
I think I would have to look at my notes to refresh my memory, but I believe it was later that day that I spoke with Adam on the phone.
Please do, if you believe that would refresh your recollection.
Yes, it was later that day.
Did you also attempt to call the defendant on August 1st?
I again would have to refer to my notes.
Please do.
I did.
Did you speak to the defendant on August 1st?
I did.
What, if anything, did he tell you about Harmony's condition?
I would have to, again, look at my notes for details.
Please do. And just look up when your memory's been refreshed. Do you recall what, if anything, the defendant told you about Harmony's condition when you spoke to him on August 1st?
The contact I just reviewed, I was speaking to him about setting up a home visit and that he had one of his children was not feeling well and he needed to take him to be seen.
And go ahead.
So we would not be able to have a home visit and it would have to be rescheduled.
And during that conversation, did he also tell you that he believed that Harmony had the same illness as this other child?
That I don't remember. I don't recall.
Do you think that, that reviewing your notes would refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Please do. And Mr. Soros, is your memory refreshed?
Yes. Adam did say that he believed Harmony now had the same illness or condition that his other child had.
That again was on August 1st.
Yes.
So 2 days after you went out?
Correct.
At any point during your response, did you have a face-to-face with Harmony Montgomery?
Could you ask me that again? I'm sorry.
At any point during your response, did you have a face-to-face interaction with Harmony Montgomery?
My response, as far as my following up with the report.
Correct.
I did.
When was that?
I believe it was about a week later. The exact date, I don't remember.
Do you think that reviewing your report would refresh your recollection with respect to the date?
Yes.
Can you please do so?
Yes, it was August 7th, approximately a week later.
What, if anything, did you observe about Harmony's physical appearance when you saw her on August 7th?
Overall, excuse me. Overall, she seemed.
So let me strike that question.
Yes.
Specifically, did you notice any markings or injury to her face?
I did notice a small red mark under one of her eyes and some redness with discoloration in the eye that was closest to that.
Did the defendant tell you anything regarding how that injury occurred?
He did. He said that he bought the kids, he had 2 younger children, he bought the kids like foam swords or lightsabers, and that they were playing with them, and that Harmony was struck in the face and the eye, and that's how she got that mark.
So, Mr. Soros, I want to switch gears and I want to discuss January of 2020. On January 8th of 2020, did you make contact with the defendant?
I believe so. I would like to review my contacts, please.
I'm sorry, could you speak a little more loudly?
Yes, ma'am.
And repeat the answer to that question?
I do remember receiving a report then, and I don't remember the exact date and whether I made contact or not.
Would it refresh your recollection to look at your report?
Yes. If may I?
In just a moment, yeah. So feel free to review that and just look up when you're ready.
Yes, it was January 8th, 2020.
And how did that communication occur?
I apologize, meaning how did I contact them?
Yes.
Phone.
You spoke to him on the phone?
Yes.
And what, if anything, during that conversation did he say about Harmony Montgomery?
I believe it was that conversation. I would have to check my notes to make sure, because I can't remember if it was that conversation or later when meeting with him that he had told me that Harmony was now living with her biological mother.
Do you recall the specifics of what he said about how she came to be with her biological mother?
He had said that she was having visits with her mother. And again, I'd have to probably look at my notes again, but I believe due to their unstable housing situation that Harmony ended up staying with her mom.
Did you follow up with Crystal Sorey?
I did make an attempt. I called and I believe I left a voicemail.
If I could have just a moment. Thank you, Mr. Sims. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Attorney Brooks?
We met briefly beforehand. My name is Jamie Brooks. I represent Mr. Montgomery. Just in terms of the timeline, a report came in on July 29th of 2019 regarding Harmony, correct? Correct. And specifically, it was that Adam had caused a black eye. That was in the report. Someone referred, whomever it was that made the report, referred to it as a shiner, which I interpret as a black eye. And the report was made anonymously, but you knew the person to be Kevin Montgomery? I did learn that later on. So that day you went to the residence, the 29th. Yes. But it was a very fleeting encounter. Adam and Harmony were getting in a vehicle as you were arriving. Correct. So you observed Harmony for all of 10 seconds, right? Thereabouts, yeah. 30, 40 feet away. Mm-hmm. You were in your car still at the time. Yes. But you did have a longer visit, approximately a week later, correct? Yes. That was August 7th? Yes. You went inside the residence? I did. And it sounds like you spoke with Adam, but you also spoke with Harmony.
I did.
Your general or preferred practice is to try and meet with the kid alone, correct?
Correct.
But that doesn't always happen.
Correct.
Sometimes there is a parent there.
Sometimes there's a parent there.
Or in the next room.
Or in the next room.
And you don't have any specific recollection regarding whether anybody was present when you spoke with Harmony.
I don't recall that.
But you were able to visually see Harmony, right?
Yes.
And you noticed a little bit of red in her right eye?
I can't remember if it was a right or left eye, but it was one of the eyes.
In one eye. There was some redness?
Yes.
Faded bruising as well?
Yeah, I refer to it as like a faint red mark and then some redness in the eye.
Harmony had her glasses, right?
She did.
She agreed to remove them, right?
Yes.
So that you could look at her.
Yes.
And there's a standard set of questions you ask under these circumstances, right?
I do. I did.
So again, without indicating what the answer was, you would obviously ask her what had happened.
Yes.
And other questions regarding her general safety.
Yes.
Aside from the redness in her eye and the faded bruising, you did not observe anything else concerning regarding Harmony's person and well-being.
I did not.
I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
Just one question for you, Mr. Soros. So if I understand correctly, you're not sure whether when you spoke with Harmony, if her father was in the room, in another room, or somewhere else?
Correct. I don't recall that.
Thank you.
That's further judge.
All right, you may step down.
Thank you.
Your Honor, this witness may be excused.
Any objection? All right, this witness may be excused. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, as I said, things moved a little more quickly than the parties anticipated today. So we are going to end a little bit earlier today. It's our hope that we're going to go through with a full day tomorrow. So plan accordingly. Looks like maybe there's a little bit of nice weather this afternoon. So so you'll get a little additional time. But I'll have you come back at 8:45 tomorrow with the hope that we will get started on time at 9 a.m.
You know.
I forgot that had music. So we're not going to do that because YouTube will get me. So let me take that down. I do want to share some photos of Harmony. And yes, I am double dipping, guys, because I'm listening to Jen on my phone. Crime Curious. Definitely an amazing friend. Honored to be able to say she is a friend. So I want to share my pictures of the beautiful reason that we're here today, watching this horrible trial. This is Harmony Montgomery. She's still missing. Thank you all for being here. Remember, it takes a village to raise a child. If you see something, say something. I wouldn't be here without you guys. Make sure you do self-care. Hug your kids, hug your dogs, hug your husband, hug your wife. Let them know you love them and you're there for them. And if you have an addict in your family, you haven't heard from that addict, you have a child in your family, you haven't seen that child, raise those red flags. Please. Thank you, mods, for being here. Thank you for everybody that came in to chat. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that bell, share out the video, and remember, justice for Harmony. She is the reason we're here.
I did see Kelly D. Thank you very much for the super chat. Also here.